There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, if do I.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Right here on the Power Chord Hour podcast. You know him, you love him. This is his fourth appearance, I believe. Yes, fourth appearance. We got my buddy Kyle Stevens, all the way from fucking Illinois. And I'm excited to have him back on. And Kyle, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very good. Just kind of hanging out and jamming some guitar before this all came up.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was wondering, I was hoping that, I'm sure you saw the tweet, but I was hoping that since we are dissecting the Boxcar Racer album tonight, that you were learning all the riffs from the album to play here, for like reference.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, there was definitely one song that I was getting into, and I'll bring it up when we get to it. But yeah, I had the note in my head, and I was like, oh, I want to play that note. And then I ended up playing the whole song in like 5 minutes.
They're fun songs to play. I haven't played them in a while, but like All Systems Go, I used to, maybe I could play it again. I remember I used to play it on guitar, and it's really fun. It's surprisingly more difficult because the way you have to like move your hand around, but it's really fun. Like some of those songs are just really fun to play off that record.
Yeah, and that was actually it.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to ruin the fun, everyone.
Oh, no big deal. It was just, I had the note from that song stuck in my head, the intro note, and I was just like, oh man, I just want to hear that. And is then
is it an A? It's isn't it?
I think I'm like the worst like guitar player ever. Like I couldn't tell you what note it was in.
You're not the worst.
My hand.
Most people can. I've realized that most people can't. So nah, dude. That ain't nothing. Most people can't. I bet Tom DeLonge doesn't know what fucking note it starts on.
There was a great video of him like trying to like get the count on a song with Travis, and he's like, "This is my guitar picking pattern. I don't know what count it is." And Travis is just like, "It's 4/4." He's like, I don't know how to count. I never learned.
Fuck, you know what though? I mean, that's not to get sidetracked here. I mean, I know it's gonna happen because that's what I do. I still fucking sidetrack. But like to his credit though, and I've said this enough. It's like Tom is a testament really to you don't need to have music theory. You don't need to have lessons and all this shit to make music that people want to hear or be successful and not be talented in your own right. Like Tom DeLonge does what Tom DeLonge does. And no one else can really do it. I mean, there's obviously millions of bands who have tried to, rip off Blink-182, but there's only one Blink-182. And, he may not be, the most, not a guitar virtuoso. He may not, know basic theory, but the motherfucker can still play and, is a good testament to that where it's like it really doesn't matter how much of, that other shit that's not what makes a good musician or songwriter.
Absolutely. It's shocking to know like how simple songwriting and just structuring songs could be, and when you're not trying to overcomplicate every riff and every part of a song, if you just break it down to like just the most like minimal things, like what Tom does a lot of the times, it can be a really great song without having it being like overly complex and like too dynamic. You can keep it simple and still write a really good song.
Well, I think he holds so much importance too, and I mean, just really him and Mark as well for bass players. But like, I think you need artists like that who are big, who like young kids and shit like will find, and they're obtainable. Those songs are obtainable to learn. They're not like it's not learning some Van Halen guitar solo. It's not some kind of insane like Joe Satriani thing. Like these are songs that you can learn within, I mean, like once you play long enough, you start learning by ear in like minutes, but it's like even without that, like you can learn these songs very easily, and they're good songs to start out on, which are also good for you because if you try playing really hard shit when you start out, you're going to get frustrated and go, fuck this, I want to do it. you would be more likely to continue on if you learn that riff to Damn It, which, pretty easy to learn, but you learn that and you get stoked you can learn it so fast. And I think that's probably part of why he's so big, because that's the other thing I want to get into with like I feel like there's parts of this Boxcar Racer album that like really, really showcase why like Tom DeLonge is so. I mean, me and you are testaments to that. Like, fucking, you mold so much off of him. You know what I mean? Like, he's more than a musician. Like, he's like influenced generations of kids in like the way they dress, their humor, the way they think, like all these different things. And I think a lot of it is also rooted in that, where he's an obtainable musician. Like, that's a person that you can learn his shit from the beginning. You can buy a guitar and go learn Blink-182 songs.
Yeah, for me, like everything that he did, look-wise, musically, was relatable. It was something that, like you said, it was like obtainable. Like, he didn't wear like crazy flashy clothes and like didn't do ridiculous things with his hair, or like, he didn't play ultra complex riffs. Everything was super simple for the most part. So like dressing like him, or kind of getting into that humor, like, wasn't a stretch for a lot of people. It was easy because, like you said, it's obtainable. And being able to just kind of, at a young age, kind of find someone that's much older, but like in like a very popular band that like I can relate to, was huge, because then it made me feel like I wasn't far off from being able to attain something like that if I wanted to.
Oh, I mean, I think too, it just goes for generations and generations. Like, it's not just one of those things where like, like if you were like age 18 in the year 1999, you were like influenced by him, because it's not like that at all. It's like there's still people who, like teenagers and shit, who are still hearing them for the first time, and it's making as big of an impact as, when Enema of the State came out, 21 years ago. Like, it's still happening. And, I think that's a testament to that, because there's a lot of bands who, I mean, maybe they captivated, a small audience, but I mean, he still seems to have that. And I think it's also the reason why, even though I want to say he's 44. I think I saw that today. So actually, no, fuck that. This is funny, people. Kyle reminded me of this, I believe yesterday. This was a pure coincidence. I've been talking to Kyle about doing this. We wanted to do another album analysis. We had a fucking blast doing Insomniac, and we've wanted to do Boxcar Racer. And I'm like, hey, you want to do it this weekend? And we're doing it Saturday night. But we're going to release this on Tom DeLonge's birthday, December 13th. And so I take that back. Right now, as I'm talking, Tom DeLonge is 44. But as you hear this, that man is 45. Happy birthday, brother. Thank you for fucking for everything. And your birthday gift is this fucking podcast. And I mean, that's a pretty good gift. Because we're just going to verbally jerk them off for 3 hours, basically. So I mean,
I hope you can last that long.
Yeah. Oh shit. But like, he's just, he's a goddamn hero to all of us. So happy birthday, man. And if I had actually, that's what I should have had. I wish you were learning the riff to No It Isn't, because now would be the time to play No It Isn't on here. Because it's also the anniversary of that song getting released. What was that? 2000 would have been like 2006, 2007.
I think it was 2005, because I was in high school, and I'm pretty sure that was my senior year.
Oh my god! If it's that, then it's a landmark birthday. That's 15.
Yeah,
it's the 15th anniversary of No It Isn't. Let's slit our wrists and burn down something beautiful, you guys.
Yeah, man, I remember where I was when I heard that song. Good memories.
That is a good song. I'm sorry. I know it's a fuck you, Tom song, no matter what Mark says, but it is a good song. Let's just be honest. But anyways, we're not here for that song. We're here to talk about the motherfucking birthday boy, Thomas Matthew DeLonge. And I'm you know what? I'm going to say it for the sake of the podcast. You can't see, but right now I'm wearing my Macbeths and my Atticus t-shirt. And I have a How about a Hurley hat backwards, and I have my lip ring in. So,
Yeah, I got my left hand nails painted. That's my left hand.
I mean, perfect. And I was actually going to say I also had my nipple pierced, but I think that's Mark who had a pierced nipple. If I remember my Enema of the State poster with them all shirtless, not just shirtless, pantsless, shirtless, all those things.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Boxcar Racer. I mean, there's tons of. They're an interesting band because it's one album. That's it. There's one album. That's all there is. But there's so much to that band. That band like had a lasting influence. I mean, once again, something that I think people are still discovering, but also the impact it had on Blink-182, on Tom in general, like all that different shit, which we're about to get into. But I mean, we should start though, like we did with Insomniac, like just the first time you heard it. Like, did you hear it when it first came out? Like if I'm thinking, because I know we've talked about this before on past episodes, but like by this time you were already a Blink fan, right? So it's like when this came out, like you were already a fan of Tom and everything.
Yes.
Okay. Like did you get it like right when it came out then? Like so you were on it right away. You were fucking privy to this.
Yeah, I mean I couldn't tell you like the date that I heard this by any means. But I was pretty early on the Boxcar Racer train. I do remember roughly hearing I Feel So for the first time, and it was on the radio, and it was like one of those, like, I don't know if it was like just a single that was already like out for a couple days, or if it was the day it got released as a single. But I remember listening to the radio and they announced, this is Boxcar Racer, side project of Tom DeLonge from Blink-182. Here's the new song. And I remember like listening to the whole thing and just being like, what in the world is this? Like, I know it's Tom, so I'm immediately relating it to Blink, but there was such a distinct difference that like I couldn't draw myself away from it, even if it wasn't anyone from, like, if there was no one in Blink, this song still would have captivated me just because it was so like lyrically relatable, even at like such a young age for me. But just the sound, the style, the lyrics, like everything was just so captivating. I couldn't turn the radio off if I wanted to.
You know, and actually what I think we should do, because the first song I ever heard from them was I Feel So. So actually I think we should start going track by track, and we'll start here since it's the opening fucking track. But like, yeah, like I was thinking about this today and I really hadn't before because, and I'll get into a second when I heard them, but like the context of when this came out, it was released in May of 2002. Like, it's not that this record by any means, like, it's not like Boxcar Racer sounded like a lot of what was on rock radio at the time, but it was heavy enough where I feel like it should have, I think it fit in on rock radio really well then. Like, even though it didn't sound like you think of that time, like there are bands, like there are some of the post-hardcore bands, like I think Finch was doing decent. The Used were kind of, that was kind of starting, Story of the Year. And like, obviously this isn't like new metal or anything like that, but you had like shit like that going on, your fucking PODs, your Puddle of Muds, like all that. Even though, once again, like Boxcar Racer sounds nothing like that, I feel like I Feel So had a place in like rock radio at that time. Like if you look what was out, I'm surprised this wasn't a bigger like fucking radio hit. Like I've never heard it on the radio since. Like it probably got airplay when it came out, but I think by like a year or two later, like it's not something you ever hear on the radio, like ever.
Yeah, no, I've heard it once, like on like late night, like let's play like, B-sides of like bands and this and that, like after 10 o'clock on like a Friday night. But
which if you're playing those, that means that they don't get played at all. Like when they go in that section, that's like we're playing obscure things that never get played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yet, like I maybe have heard it on like satellite radio maybe once or twice, but like you don't hear it. But funny enough, the first time I ever heard the song, my introduction to Boxcar Racer. And here's what's interesting. Here's why I think it's really like you talk about like the impact that this record had on Blink-182's sound. When you heard it, it was drastically different. It didn't sound like Blink. And that's totally right. But by the time I heard it, it's funny. I text you this. I'm wondering what you're going to think. I feel like I know in my heart what it is. But the way I found Boxcar Racer was kind of fucking Joser, I think. I was probably like 11, and this would have been like 2004 or 2005. Blink-182, I think, had just broken up, and I was watching Nickelodeon, and for like a minute there, they did these promos. I don't know if anyone like remembers these, where like they would play like fucking a piece of a cartoon, but just with no sound. There'd be a song over it. And they're all like pop punk songs and shit. Like think of what would be out in like 2002. Kind of like we were talking about, like Story of the Year. Like I think there was a Blink-182 song, but I Feel So was on one for like I think like Fairly Odd Parents. And at that time, I had already heard Blink-182's Untitled. Like that had already come out. And I wasn't a big Blink-182 fan. I didn't own the album, but I had heard the songs and all that. So like when I heard it, it didn't sound not like Blink-182. So when I heard that song, I thought it was Blink-182 for like the first 2 or 3 years I had heard it. And I thought it was just on the Untitled album. I'm like, that sounds like by that time I'd heard like Down and Feeling This and all that shit. So I'm like, it's off that album. Like I didn't know that album, but I'm like, I know it's off that one because it just sounds like that. So like for one, I think that really shows like how much like this album does influence where Blink-182 goes later. But anyways, a year or two after hearing that, I finally got interested in Blink-182. I got into them after they were broken up. But I was on iTunes one day, and at this point, I was still thinking it was a Blink-182 song. But I had like went through their discography and could never find that song again. I had no clue where it existed. I'm like, I still thought it was a Blink-182 song. And then one day I was on iTunes just fucking going through. This was like 2006, I think, like summer 2006, I want to say. And I just randomly came across it. And I'm like, holy shit, like, what is this? So, like, that was the other icing on the cake. Like, this was just about the time where I had finally heard all of Blink's albums. Like, I just got into them, but I got to the point where they're broken up and I've heard everything now. And then all of a sudden I get this thing where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, there's this band with Travis and Tom in it. And it's like, holy shit, there's a whole album. Like, it's a whole new thing to discover. Like, I was so excited. But, like, really, it is interesting because, like, by the time I heard it, it was not a shock. But I'm putting myself in your shoes when you're talking about it. And a pre-Untitled Blink, this is fucking different. Like, a lot of people, I think this was their intro to the band. And it really is. Like you have to take out, like, Blink-182 post, Untitled. This is, like, really left field for them, I mean, I think this one definitely is. But I think overall, like, it's a strong album opener. Like, I think this is easily the best one to go in. And a really good single, too, because I was thinking, like, last time, we were talking with Insomniac, like, how we thought the singles were kind of silly and how they made no fucking sense. This one's different. I think this was a good idea for, like, the first single. Like, I thought this worked really well. Like, do you think this was a good start-off one, or do you feel like they should have chose something different to, like, promote them starting out?
No, I think this is pretty much, like, about a perfect single that you could ask for, especially given like the height of Blink's popularity at that time, and obviously there was a gap in between Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and the self-titled Untitled record, and so this gave us just enough to be like, hey, Tom and Travis are both in this band, so it's still Blink, but it sounds different. And I don't think anyone would have known that this would have eventually become the evolution of what Blink sound would have turned into. But at least it was something that sounded familiar enough that could kind of pull a lot of people in as far as like hitting those early record sale numbers or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But it still was different enough that it was like, okay, this is not Blink. This is something different. It's just members are associated with it.
Because that's really what Tom wanted. Tom wanted an outlet for songs that he thought were like too dark and too heavy for Blink-182, and then also to do kind of a ode to like old and like post-hardcore, like original, like not like the Used and bands like that, but like Fugazi and Quicksand and Jawbox and like shit like that. Like it was more of an ode to those bands. And the other interesting thing, because I was reading up today on some stuff, but like he was talking about that, and it's like this album is kind of an ode to that, and it also, which who knows, because every now and then he loves to do that thing where he just hints at shit. But at least at one point, he did think that the band was just kind of that one idea. Like, this was supposed to always be a one-off. Like, it was just kind of like, that's our purpose. Like, we're doing this. It's an ode to this sound, and it's kind of an outlet for him to get this shit out, you know. And I mean, at least at the time whenever he said that, you know, he thought that was it. Which, you know, I think is also interesting because it makes you wonder if he was writing, you know, darker songs for Take Off Your Pants and Jacket that ended up getting shot down. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if he ever brought shit to them and like either Jerry Finn or Mark and Travis were like, this is too left field, you know, like, because that makes you kind of think, like, I mean, obviously there's like elements of it in like Stay Together for the Kids. Like, I'd say that's a close one where I go like, okay, that kind of has like a Boxcar Racer vibe. If there is one, you know, like it kind of like foreshadows that, but like, you know, I don't know. Like, I think it would be interesting to think like what Take Off Your Pants and Jacket would have sounded like if they started that heavier element earlier, you know, because obviously they do it on the next album on Untitled. You hear this album's influence on Untitled, but you know, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket being darker, I don't know. That would be kind of interesting because that's the other thing going through this album is like tell me if you do this, like, because for this I'm very guilty of it, including getting ready for this. I very much was going through the songs on this record and going, this song could be either an Angels and Airwaves song or this one could be a Blink-182 song. Like, do you find yourself doing that a lot when you listen to this album, or does that not really get in your head?
There was always at least Angels and Airwaves connections well before this. Just little things here and there sprinkled throughout the album where, like, once I started listening to AVA, I would go back randomly and listen to this album and be like, oh, that's an Angels and Airwaves hint. There's a hint of AVA in this years before. But now, going through it this recent time, you know, a couple times over, I am starting to find those little, like, I guess, like, eventual, like, Blink kind of tie-ins. And I'm not just talking about, like, Elevator with Mark, but, like, other little things that definitely could have sounded like maybe they would have been on the self-titled, Untitled album.
Well, and here's an interesting thing. Like, I have this note here, and I really got to say this, like, you telling me the first time you heard I Feel So is getting me in a different mindset, because I wrote down that this song on the album sounds one of the most Blink-like songs. But the thing is, I'm going through it from someone who heard this post-Untitled. When I feel like this song could fit on Untitled. Like, do you feel like do you at least agree with that? Like, could you hear this on Untitled?
Maybe. Going from someone who's kind of followed the Blink path from, I'd say, about, you know, 99 on.
You're a fucking OG.
And hearing, yeah, I mean, technically there's years before that, apparently from my brothers, but I don't really recall these things. But no, I guess I can kind of see it on like the self-titled, Untitled record, but maybe it's just a little too dark and heavy. I'd say maybe it's too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Oh, sorry, dude. I don't know what the hell just happened.
Yeah, me neither.
Sorry, folks. That was a technical difficulty.
But yeah, I'll try to get back to where I was. It could have been on the self-titled, Untitled album. It might be a little too heavy for that album, but I can definitely see it maybe from your point of view where you didn't really hear Boxcar until after self-titled was already released, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I totally, I come from a different perspective, totally.
Yeah, so seeing and hearing that would make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not so much going my route or like the other way, but I can kind of see it a little bit.
No, see, I like this though. This is interesting because it also, once again, because we are getting into like the effect that it had on Blink and Tom and all that. This is how much of that effect it has. That me and you can look at the same song and see it differently just from when we were fans of the band. You can't do that with a lot of music. Like, think about that. Like, that really, I feel like, goes with what we're saying of, like, you know, this shit. I mean, we're not blowing anyone's mind. I feel like most people who are fans already know this shit, but, like, just how much this ended up affecting Blink, you know? And I know we'll probably get into it. I think you even brought this up on the Blink-182 episode, but how it's not all just negative. It's positive and negative. Like, it affected it in fucking both ways. But yeah, like I think I've done it before, but I really especially think I did listening, you know, leading up to this because I knew we were going to do it. But I do find myself guilty of hearing songs on this album and going, you know, placing it. There are a couple where I will say I don't place it in either categories, but most songs I am guilty of, like, okay, this one sounds like Ava, or this one sounds like normally Untitled Blink. Very few songs on here I would say sound like, and see, that's the other thing, is even though Boxcar Racer, for a while, I think I would hear certain songs and go like, oh, it sounds like Blink without Mark Hoppus. But as I listen more throughout the years, I realize that that's not the truth. Like, it does sound like its own thing. And even though some of it sounds like Blink, it sounds like Untitled Blink. Like, it doesn't sound like anything before that. It just sounds like a certain era, which isn't even really fair to say because it was influenced by it. So it's almost like Untitled Blink sounds like Boxcar Racer. I blew everyone's fucking mind right there. Boxcar Racer doesn't sound like Blink's Untitled. Blink's Untitled sounds like Boxcar Racer. I just had to say it again for everyone. It's so profound.
Yeah, it's almost like kind of how like you you said you heard the Untitled before this.
Yep.
It'd be like if Blink's trajectory went the same, but you just flipped when this album was released. If you like put it after self-titled, then the heavier, darker elements make more sense.
Ooh, you're fucking right, man.
Because it is more of a darker, heavier transition going into the self-titled, Untitled. And then if Boxcar came after that, then it's just all heavy and all dark.
Well, basically, like to your point of what you're saying, I mean, we put ourselves in like an alternate universe. Blink breaks up after Untitled. Travis goes with Tom instead of going with Mark, and this is what they do. That it would honestly be a natural progression. Like if you start thinking it like the way you're saying, and I've never thought of this before, but if that's what happened after Blink broke up, I don't think that would have actually. That may have been less left field than Ava was.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
let me ask you this. Let me ask you and you know what? I think this is going to go back to how me and you kind of look at it differently with this song being on Untitled. Which one do you think is more? Which one were you more taken by? Hearing I Feel So, only with Blink before that, or hearing The Adventure after Blink had broken up? Which one, and I don't actually, let me put it this way, I don't know if The Adventure is the first song you heard from them. Which one shocked you more differently? Like hearing Ava for the first time or hearing Boxcar Racer for the first time?
Definitely hearing Ava. It was another one of those, I heard it on the radio type deals. I was outside of the skate park at a McDonald's parking lot and literally just sitting in my car waiting for like someone to show up. And it literally was the guy just being like, hey, Tom Delonge's new band, Angels and Airwaves, is out with a new song called The Adventure. And I hear like the spacey intro and the really like delay long guitar riff. And I'm like, what in the world is this? Like at first I didn't know what to like think of it because it's like, it's not Blink, it's not Boxcar. And this is me already hearing Boxcar at this point. So when I heard he was even doing a new band, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, probably like a Boxcar type thing. And then I start hearing these delay riffs and like these really like big open, crescendoing like parts. It was definitely different. I liked it. It just took me a lot longer to warm up to.
Yeah, and I would have discovered, because Angels and Airwaves was coming out since I really got into them after Blink had broken up, like I saw Plus 44 and Angels and Airwaves like form. Like that's when I was on. So like I heard Angels and Airwaves about the same time I heard Boxcar Racer. Like I was discovering them both around the same time. But I would say that Angels and Air, I still have the same view as you. Angels and Airwaves was more of a shock. I heard The Adventure for the first time. I think I saw it too. It was on Fuse. I don't think I heard it on the radio for the first time. I'm pretty sure it would have been Fuse, or I discovered so many bands through the music videos on Fuse. And that was one of them. It would have been The Adventure. And I mean, yeah, just the whole, I mean, not only do you have this long fucking intro, the synth and all these effects on the guitars and shit like that, you also have the music video with it, which is way more spacey than, the fucking like the music video for like Feeling This or What's My Age Again or anything. I would definitely say I was more shocked by Ava. And the other thing too is, it's not like when I heard Boxcar Racer, I mistook it for Blink. I never heard Angels and Airwaves and mistook it for Blink, except for the first time I heard Everything's Magic in FYE, and I went, why does Anthem Part 2 sound like this? And then all of a sudden, right. You know what? I don't know if this is funny or sad. I ain't talking shit on the homeboy. It is his birthday. Happy 45th. But when I heard it and I heard that riff, I go, who the fuck is ripping off Blink-182? And then all of a sudden, Tom DeLonge's voice comes on. I'm like, who the fuck is ripping off Anthem Part 2?
I'm pretty sure everyone kind of thought that when they heard that song. Like, I don't know one person that likes Angels and Airwaves who did not think that was...
Yeah, you have
like,
to.
An Anthem Part 2 ripoff. And again, it's nothing against the guy. Like, I mean, like, that's just how he wrote the song. And it just so happened to be pretty much the same riff with an added extra note or two. But, I mean, it is what it is, and it's still not a bad song. But, yeah, I definitely was confused when I first heard that.
And we will get into it. I won't jump to it yet, but there's actually a song on this record, on Boxcar Racer, and I wonder, you may already know what it is, but that he definitely recycled on Untitled. 100%, like, the entire fucking riff, almost the entire song was just recycled later on, but we'll get to that. But anyways, for like I Feel So, getting back to that, before we go to track 2, anything else to say about I Feel So?
I guess it was just like the song itself, like not just it for being a single, but for it being the first song. And like, we kind of talked about this on the Green Day, album review, how the first song is always kind of that, introduction to the band, and let alone, this being a single as well. Like, it was definitely something that really pulled you in with that, I'm assuming their big keyboard guy who plays on a bunch of the Blink records, Roger Manning Jr., I'm pretty sure he played that beginning piano riff. And
I was wondering, dude, because I didn't know this was a guy. So you know who plays piano on that. I was assuming it was just Jerry Finn.
It does, like, so I'm assuming so, just because he's been listed on other Blink records in the past.
I didn't know this.
And it does show, and this is kind of it's a maybe just because it's wiki, but it does show that Tom does play piano on here, like on the record, but maybe just for demo purposes, because I've never really seen him, except for one time, really kind of mess around on a piano type instrument. So I'm assuming, if anything, maybe that Roger Manning Jr. guy came in and like really cleaned it up and kind of just, worked on, the intro to the song and maybe some other parts. But it was so dynamic, it's so dynamic, and it changed to like that kind of demented nursery rhyme kind of sound with that piano that Tom loves using, that phrase, demented nursery rhymes.
I love it.
Going into the big heavy part. And then the first verse comes in, and it's super chill, and it's a pattern that's repeated through the album constantly. It's very mellow verses, heavy choruses, mellow verses.
I have that written down, dude.
Bridge, yeah, and it's cool because it's definitely something from Tom and just musicians at that time that I didn't hear. That having all of that be thrown at me in the first song, whether it was a hit or not, it's a banger of a song, and it's one of those like hits that I don't mind listening to.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's one where I truly can't believe this doesn't get more radio play, even to this day, just because it's one of those ones where maybe the casual person who, knows like the singles Blink-182 but doesn't know the band, even though they may not know who Boxcar Racer is, if they heard that song, I think his voice is discernible enough where like people know that, oh, that's that guy from Blink-182. Like they'll listen to it. Like, I think it's something that people will listen to, and I'm surprised you don't really hear on rock radio. But it is funny you bring that up, like the dynamics thing on here, because I have that. And one thing I'll say, it's not even bad, but when you keep listening and you realize that, you do realize that is a big part of Boxcar Racer's sound. Because at first I thought it was a few songs. Then I kept listening and I'm like, this is like the formula here, like quiet verses, loud intros. Or I mean loud choruses. And it's like what Kurt Cobain used to call it, like fucking like the Pixies thing. Like he said he was ripping off the Pixies with that when he did it with like Smells Like Teen Spirit, where like, he does that with songs where you have these very quiet verses. And he said he got that from the Pixies. That's who he credits for. But like doing these quiet verses and then just fucking blowing up in the choruses, and it adds this dynamic. Even though you may not even change it up much, it could be the same. Like it could be something as simple as there's just one guitar instead of two, and then there's just bass going. Like because the thing you see that's absent on here, I would say two big things that I think are different than Blink is. You don't really hear guitar on here that's just straight palm muted eighth notes. Like really, you don't hear a lot of palm muting on this record at all if you think about it. Like you
Oh no, not at all.
Like you do not hear his typical like guitar playing. Like when you start listening, like he spaces shit out. Like and he never did that before. Obviously he did after this, but like before that, Tom's guitar playing was not spaced out. Like this album is very much less is more. Like, I mean, there's even in those verses, like those verses are really heavy, but they're just fucking that down fucking chugging, and no one's doing anything crazy, but it just works really well. And they do that thing where instead of doing, just fucking palm muted eighth notes the whole time, they're spacing it out. And then when they get to that chorus, it's fucking massive, that. They work with dynamics like they never did before. Because in Blink, that's not really a thing. They don't really do the quiet, loud thing. Like, It kind of keeps the vibe the whole time. A Blink-182 song, like it kind of keeps it the entire time. Like, I guess like What's My Age Again kind of would be example of one that kind of does that, where it's quiet, loud. But like for the most part,
you kind of brought it up earlier. Stay Together for the Kids. That's a example.
You're right, dude.
That's the perfect example of that type of transitioning, kind of almost taking it up a notch in a way, because these verses are more mellow almost, and then they get even heavier in the choruses, and then, it's just a tweak to the dynamic. But that's like as far as sound goes, like that's a very as far as Tom and Blink and stuff like that, like that's a very good intro to be like, hey, if you like Stay Together for the Kids from Boxcar Racer, you might from Blink-182. Wow, sorry, you might like this Boxcar Racer album if they've never heard it.
Because that's what I always think of. Like I go, the Stay Together for the Kids is a song that sounds like Boxcar, or pre-Boxcar Racer. That's the only real song where you kind of go like, that sounds like where they're going. Like that song, I guess, is a foreshadow. Same with Untitled, like where they'd be going. But because like what I was thinking today, like with those dynamics, why like Blink-182, they're most of the time they don't do that. Like I think like a song like Damn It, there's no fucking spacing. Everyone's playing the whole time. It's not a song that there's taking breaks and shit. Whereas on this album, you listen, there's a verse. There'll be like a verse where there's only one guitar. Sometimes there's no guitar. Then the next verse they do two guitars, and or there's no bass in this section. Like there are like whole sections of like songs on this record where there's just instruments that aren't playing, and it's just something you don't see a lot beforehand. Like he did a really good job. And I also wonder this, just because I also think he had a bigger part in the sound of Blink-182 than people will ever realize. But I do wonder if Jerry Finn kind of played with that. Like if Tom, like how much he had in the say of this. You know what I mean? Like kind of pushing them towards that. Like if Tom kind of naturally was writing that way, or if Jerry was kind of there, you know what I mean? Kind of helping him go towards that way. Because I mean, same within Blink-182, like Jerry Finn, I think has a lot more to do with guitar tones, little things they do. Like, I mean, like you were talking about, like the guy who plays keys on those Blink albums, like I'm pretty sure that's Jerry Finn who thought it was a good idea to get like fucking, and to be fair, he didn't produce Dude Ranch, which there is some, you do hear that a little bit on there, but like later on the albums where you hear it more and more like layered under there, I think that was a Jerry Finn thing. Like there's a lot of shit like that where I'm like, I think that was more Jerry Finn than it was actually Blink, which I'll also say because I had not heard the Enema of the State demos for a while. I forgot that like 7 or 8 of them are out there. And when you hear them, yeah, so you've heard them, right? Like Jerry Finn was good to them. Like all I'm saying is,
absolutely.
You listen to the rawness of some of those songs, like the original ones. I'm like, the idea is there, but Jerry Finn helped them craft it into something, because the demos down of the state do not sound like you would hear those and you would not think this is going to be one of the biggest pop punk records of all time. Like one of the most influential, like, I mean, and really like truly one of the most influential. Like I don't give a shit. Like, and that's what I think people get mad who are like, yeah, they can't play. And it's like, they're lousy musicians. It's like those motherfuckers just on a song like All the Small Things. How many people have learned that like on guitar? How many like that was their first song? And like how many people have been like influenced off even just that record? Like such a huge fucking record that, I think Jerry Finn definitely, and I don't think they would shy away from that. I'm pretty sure Mark, Tom, and Travis would all say nothing but that. Like that fucking, he was like a 4th member of the band. But I just do wonder that, because I just go, you hear different shit on here, for songs that Tom's writing that you never heard him write before. And it's like, I wonder if Jerry, like if Jerry worked with arrangements or that, or if that was all kind of Tom. Or I guess the other thing too, David, because that's the other thing. David Kennedy, obviously, for people who don't know, who is in Angels and Airwaves as well, he also played guitar in this. So, I mean, I think that, and the other thing that I forget too is, even though, I mean, there are like, if you go listen to Blink records, I mean, there are second guitar, they'll layer guitars and shit, but this is a band where Tom now has someone else to play off of. So the dynamic of guitar playing changes when you're not in a trio anymore. So I think that also changes your songwriting and how you can approach it and how you can do that, because that's the other thing you forget too with the trio, where to give Tom credit where, people are like, oh, he doesn't, he plays very simple shit in Blink. It's like, they're also a trio. So he doesn't have, a lot of times there's not a place to play crazy shit because there's no one to, play the rhythm guitar. Like, you do kind of are limited in certain ways with that, including with the music that they play. So it's like,
absolutely.
Like I think this kind of gives him another side of his songwriting, that you wouldn't see before. So I think maybe it's all those things. Him wanting to do different shit. I think David Kennedy did help. Like I feel like he probably had say in the studio. Like I would assume just from the difference in the the change in sound that he had something to do with that. And I wonder how much Jerry Finn had, because I feel like Jerry would also be one who would probably be like, okay, if you want these guitar tones, you're going to want to use these amps instead of what you're, because he changed that too. Like Tom plays a different guitar. He used different amps. Like that shit was probably Jerry. A lot of that was probably Jerry being like, this is what would work best if you're going for that tone. If you're trying to do Fugazi or this and that, it's like, this is what you'll want to use. But
yeah, 100%. Everything that you just said, spot on.
Fuck yeah, man. But moving on to the second song, such a good one. All Systems Go. This song, to me, the energy and the vibe is just, I think if you know this song, you know what I'm talking about. Like, there's just such a fucking, like, it's just youthful. Like, it's one of those songs where, Tom DeLonge, even though happy birthday to the dude today, like, even though he's 45, he will always be like 25 to everybody. Like, I just think that's kind of the thing. And I think these are one of the songs that, like, that's the reason for it. Because even then, like, he wrote this album, him and Travis would have been like mid-20s. Like, I think he was like 25, 26, maybe 27 at like oldest. And like, he's writing these songs that fucking, really people are relating to who are like 14, 15 years younger even at that age.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like you start thinking about that and you're like, that's really a talent. And I think this is one of those songs where I listen to this and I go like, even though he's not old, but he's like, he's in his mid-20s and he's still writing songs as like angsty and like youthish, or I don't even think youthish is a word, but youthful, as he was at like age 16,
Sure.
But I mean better, I guess, because I will say 16-year-old probably couldn't write a song this good. But, it just has that youthful energy like somebody, like a fucking teenager wrote it, And the other thing I have written too is it's not as straightforward as a Blink song. Like we were talking about the last one, is this song is not fucking straightforward at all. It's not. You were saying, right? This is what you were learning earlier. You were playing this earlier on guitar.
Yeah, I literally heard that. I was just playing that first note, and then I just kind of eared out the rest of it. And then just for kicks, I looked up the tab just to see how close I was. Everything was right. I literally had every note right without even like looking at anything beforehand.
My fucking dude right here. We got Tom DeLonge.
I couldn't tell you the last. I couldn't tell you the last time I did that.
No, fuck yeah.
It was probably another Blink song.
It's funny. I was fucking around yesterday morning, just playing my acoustic guitar to This Addiction, and at first I just started playing the first song on that album. And then I ended up just kind of playing the whole thing, and I'm like, every fucking song on this album is like an E major. Like all of a sudden you start playing it, and it's like, it's kind of like when I'm listening to this album and I'm like kind of like analyzing it and realizing like the dynamic thing, like, oh, Tom does this a lot. I'm realizing on that album they use like the same chord progressions. They go from like, like every chorus goes a relative minor. Like they just have these formulas. Like sometimes you start playing things by ear and you realize how formulaic bands really are. Like you start realizing that truly it comes down to formula why you like a lot of bands. Like Blink-182, like there's chord progressions. There's like 3 chord progressions I would say that like they are every single like fucking like Blink-182 single has that chord progression. It's either A, B, or C, but it has it. Doesn't matter what key it's in, doesn't matter the tempo, it's always that progression. Like there's just certain things that work. That's my bitch about California, was that John Feldman went in and did that, where he went, okay, what are the things that people like? Like this song was popular and there's flanger on the drums, so let's put flanger on the drums. Like just so formulated, which you can fuck yourselves with. Like you need the formula, but at the same time, it's like that formula, if you try to force it, can be an issue, which is the other thing why I think this album's so great. He's not really forcing anything on this album. Like if he was, this album would sound more like it was just trying to be Blink-182, like, and really it would have been more commercially successful probably if he tried to just write an album that was like, Blink-182 with 2 guitars,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I mean, so for this song, like how do you feel about this one? And also that, like, I mean, kind of going back to like you said you were learning it before this, it's pretty different than a Blink song, like guitar wise, right? Like structurally, like you're playing it, the rhythm of it and stuff, like it's just not as straightforward at all.
Yeah, no, as far as like guitar playing wise is concerned for this song, yes, it's very like there's similarities to a degree, but it doesn't like it's just like I feel so like it doesn't like it loosely feels Blink related, maybe just because it's Tom and it's his guitar, but there's enough of a difference where like if you were to just play that riff, like if you were to just play this song like by yourself or like with a buddy, like jamming, quote unquote, and then be like, oh, what is that? Like they wouldn't be able to just quickly identify it as that sounds like a Blink pop punk song. That sounds like a Tom DeLonge punk song. It's still Tom, and it's close, but it's different, and it allows me to at least like think like kind of how he would have. Like if I wanted to change my guitar style and change, differentiate the bands, I have to open things up a little bit. I have to, kind of fall out of the structure of what Blink is to try something completely different. And there are loose similarities here and there, but this is one of those songs that you can play without being so tied to like, I'm playing a straightforward pop punk rock song. There's difference here, and it's loose. It's it's nothing like tight and punchy. It's it gives time to breathe, and again, it does like the whole like the kind of the slower intro to the big chorus, or slower verse to the chorus. This is literally one of my favorite songs on this record.
Oh, it is one of the best.
It's got one of my favorite lyrics, probably, I would say almost of all time, on it. And one thing I do want to say about this song in particular is this is one of these songs that I can kind of see as like if this song didn't exist on Boxcar Racer, with the lyrics that are in this song and the style, I'm going to call this Self-Titled Untitled Anthem Part 3.
Oh shit, dude. I was thinking, dude, it has an anthem vibe. It does feel like a continuation. 100%. You're dead on.
Because lyrically, it's so like Anthem from Enema of the State, last song. It's, you know, in the way I see it, it's extremely youthful, like just wanting to be understood. You know, you're a kid, you're having fun, you're partying with your friends, you're making a mess, being crazy, but you want to be seen as a person. You don't want to just be looked at as like a grungy little kid who like fucks around all the time. Anthem Part 2, though they bring up the age 16 in that song, there is more of like ideas of, you know, thinking as an adult. You know, he does bring up the, corporate leaders, politicians, kids can vote, adults elect them. You know, it's still a lot of like, we want to be noticed, like we're growing up to become adults, like give us the respect. And this song is just that again, but now as like a full blown, like now you're an adult and you're still trying to be recognized as an adult. And these lyrics completely relate to all of those kind of ideologies that listening to this, it reminds me of what Anthem Part 3 could have been if they did one on Self-Titled Untitled.
I absolutely see that. And I mean, I think it goes back to what you were saying where you're like, it doesn't sound like a straight up Blink song, but you hear elements on there. And I think that's what you hear. It's that energy and vibe like I was talking about. It's more about musically, it may not sound like a straight up Blink song, but lyrically what he's singing, the vibe of the song, it feels like the same thing that you get from Anthem Part 1 and 2, where it's the same thing where it's like there's just such an energy to it. And there's just this thing where, once again, going to that youthful thing, like, I mean, I like seeing them play that song in like 2009, you know, even as however old Tom would have been then, you know, like 36 or something. I mean, even as a 36-year-old singing Anthem Part 2, like when he's singing that, he's not a 36-year-old. It sounds like he's fucking like a 23-year-old singing it, you know, like he is whatever age, like you're saying, like the age you put yourself in when you think of those songs, like that's what happens when he sings those songs. And that's his talent. That's being able to do that, to capture something where no matter when he sings that, it will bring you back there. And I believe it'll always be that way. I think at 70 years old, if you see Tom DeLonge sing Anthem Part 2, even at that age, it doesn't matter. You're going to think of him as that fucking like young dude just playing a guitar with the low guitar strap, just telling really offensive dick jokes like in arenas and shit. Like, you know, like you're going to think of him that way, like no matter what age. Which is good and bad because that has haunted him. I mean, I think that's a gift and a curse because you've obviously seen how like people want him to be that certain, and I've been guilty of it like younger. Like now I'm like, I don't really give a fuck. It's like the dude wants to live his life. Like he's not always going to be the guy from Enema of the State. But like, you know, I think it's cool that people think of him that way, and that I do think people like relate him to an era and a time and a place, and also just a certain image of him. But at the same time, I think it's also pigeonholed him where like, you know, like where people, even me, where like I've at times it's taken more time to accept certain things that he's done musically, where maybe if it was someone else doing it that I didn't hold to a certain, you know, standard or a certain expectation that I would have liked more, you know. So it's like you're kind of more critical, because I do think that's true. I mean, I think a lot of his shit gets a lot more critique on it and people have more to say, but it comes from a place because he means so much to them and because he's written things that mean so much to people that, you know, that's why not everyone is into, you know, things that he's done later on, or people get pissed off that he doesn't wear a fucking Hurley hat backwards anymore. Like, you know, even silly things like that where people really do. It's like after he took that lip ring out, man, he fucking changed. Like, You know, like like things like that. And you know that people truly think that. And it's like, it just, you know, that's good and bad because it means you did something. It means that you know, your music meant something, like you were successful in that way. But yeah, you know, it also kind of bites you in the ass. But I think this song's an example of that, you know, of like that youthfulness of him and his music. And I mean, whether it's the lyrics, whether it's the music itself, but I mean, definitely a great fucking song. Definitely one of the best songs on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And guitar, I would say too. Actually, this is what's interesting. I had this written down, and let me know what you think. But like the verse guitars have a untitled tone. I think in the verses, the guitar, and once again, doesn't sound like a Blink song, but like just the tone of it and everything has an untitled tone. And then on the choruses, it has this more. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm butchering my own fucking words as I try to read it here. Because I do mean that, but I'm looking at my chicken scratch, and I thought I wrote something different. But verses kind of have this untitled Blink vibe, and then the chorus has a pre-untitled Blink vibe to me. Like the verses,
100%.
You know what I mean? Like there's a section of it where I go, okay, this is an indication of what's to come, whereas the chorus is, this is him sticking to what he knows, like that catchy chorus and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has more of like a take off your pants and jacket vibe to it, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, not that I have the exact same note, but I was thinking the exact same thing as you were saying it.
Yeah. And it's something that I didn't really, I guess maybe I noticed before, cause it's always been a favorite of mine. So I'm like, okay, I think those things that you relate to it are like, oh, okay, maybe that's why I like it. But yeah, I didn't really realize that till today. I'm like, part of this song is indication of what's to come, and the other part of it is indicate what came before. Because I do notice on this album, even though it is kind of a reaction of Tom wanting to do something different than what they were doing on Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, like, I do think that there's still elements of Blink in here that you're just not going to shake off just because you were part of that band, where it's like, there's not a lot of moments of like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket in this, but there are some. You know, there are some times where it's like, even though he's like, this is not Blink, it's like elements of Blink are still going to pop up, you know, and this is kind of an example of that.
Yeah, it's when you've been doing a certain thing for so long and being successful at it, when you go and try to switch something up, that's loosely based off of like the same kind of kind of genre, I guess you could say. Like it's still part of a punk genre, quote unquote. So going from Blink and its popularity going to something like this, where it's still in like the punk scene, but it's slightly different, there's going to still be things that are, you know, Tom specific in his style of writing, where you can just, even if you didn't hear the vocals, if you heard a certain riff, you'd be like, oh, this sounds like Tom Delonge's guitar playing in this, or this sounds very Blink-like. Who is it? You know, there's still going to be that. When he ended up doing Angels and Airwaves, like he completely he just took that idea and really threw it out the window. Because if you listen to that first AVA record, there's besides Tom singing, there's really no like connection to like this sounds like Blink, besides the Tom being in the band. So he really like changed it up and did a very good job at it. But going back to this, you know, with the height of Blink's popularity, there might have been something subconscious in him where it's like, oh, this needs a really catchy hook, you know, and just kind of went to the Blink well and just found, you know, that riff. And whether it was a riff that he's repeated a million times or not, like, it's just, you know, it's like, go back to what feels comfortable. Even if you're trying to change it up, you can always go back to something that you know and make little tweaks here and there and, you know, still make it new, but it's old.
Oh yeah, totally. And you kind of bring up a good point. It's like, I wonder if him being able to be as experimental as he did with Ava, if that came from putting out Boxcar Racer. And even though this album never sold like Blink did, it still was successful enough. Like, I mean, it never became massive, but it did sell well. Like, it did well enough where I think he got a lot of positive feedback, where I wonder if when he went to go do that, he look back at this and go, well, last time I changed it up and it went successful. Like I wonder if the success of that helped, because maybe if this record bombed and really bombed, which I mean at the same time, there wasn't a lot riding on it, obviously. Like Blink were like at one of their like really kind of at the peak of their career. So it's like it wasn't riding on this thing of like making or breaking their career or anything like that. But it's like, maybe if this would have went really bad and got bad reviews and people hated it and shit, maybe he wouldn't, which also would make you think maybe Untitled wouldn't have went the way it did, because maybe they went, well, people didn't fucking like it when we did it with that album, so we're definitely not going down that route with Blink. And, maybe with Ava, when he was doing that, he would be like, well, fuck, last time I tried to not sound like Blink, it backfired, so I do wonder that, like, even though Ava doesn't particularly sound all like All Boxcar Racer, even though the next song here we're going to get to, I want to talk about that, but
yeah,
but like still, I go like, I wonder if the success of this, because it is, I mean, it went gold in Canada. I don't think it ever even went gold here, but it didn't sell bad, like obviously nothing amazing, but not bad or anything. The record label didn't lose any money, the band didn't lose any money or anything like that, But yeah, if it went another way, I wonder if that would have affected Ava and all that. Because you are right, like you forget now too, because it's been so many years. But it's like that was a fucking shocker when like you think of Blink-182 and then you think of when Angels and Airwaves came out and hearing that stuff, and it's like it was so different. Like now I don't think twice about it. I'm just like, I mean, that is his band. Like really at this point, he's been doing Ava is. You know what? I think Angels and Airwaves has been around as long as I think Blink was around before they broke up the first time.
Let's see, because Ava was like 05.
It would have been 05. So that's, I'd say they've been around for 15. They've been around for like 15 years.
Yeah, and it's weird because like it's kind of like the way I joke about Smashing Pumpkins. It's just Billy Corgan and Friends, because it's like a different lineup every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Angels and Airwaves, it's obviously mainly Tom and David for the most part. But even on this, I think the last like little recordings that they were doing, I don't think David was involved. I think it was just Tom.
And yeah, their new drummer. Yeah, I think you're right.
And then I think they had another guy from another band kind of messing around with them. I don't remember who it was, but
because they have a different bass player now. They don't have Matt, their old bass player.
Which before that it was someone else.
Yeah, Ryan Sin.
Yeah.
What band was he was in? He was in the Distillers.
The Distillers?
Yeah, and then
it was the Distillers.
And then the other one was in 30 Seconds to Mars before that. Matt, he was in 30 Seconds to Mars. It's funny. People, when Angels and Airwaves came out, I still think about this, like, they were kind of a super group, even though they weren't marketed that way. Like, Adam was in The Offspring and Rocket from the Crypt and tons of other bands. He played with a bunch of other bands, but was even just coming off of Offspring. You had Tom DeLonge. You had fucking Ryan from the Distillers. And then David was in Boxcar Racer and a couple other ones. I mean, his were probably less big, but I mean, all of them kind of came from fairly big punk bands, really bands that came out of different genres. Like if you look at the people, like the original lineup for Angels and Airwaves, none of them came from bands who sounded like that, like Angels and Airwaves. None of those bands sounded like them.
No, it was just the weird, demented brainchild of Tom DeLonge, and just ended up finding the right people to work with him at that moment, because then after that they lost Ryan, and then I think the next album they got Matt. Yep. And then after that,
he was on for like 2 albums, I think 2 or 3.
Yeah, and then they switched drummers. Yep. And then Matt left, and it's just kind of been like a random, like, random. I think it was just a random couple people here and there, kind of messing around with them, but like, kind of leading into like this next song, Watch the World, it's very much so like a precursor to what Angels and Airwaves, what would eventually they'd become. Because if you listen to like the lyrics, or if you just read or whatever the lyrics, like they're so like different, like, and even like his delivery and his vocals are very like on every last word. It's very drawn out. And it's very much like what Tom was doing with Angels and Airwaves, was really, really singing, I feel like, for the first time, really not going, well, because like,
I know what you're saying.
he actually learned how to sing, like, maybe at this time, was starting to learn how to sing with his diaphragm instead of like his throat. Because his vocals got very open and very warm, and it sounded good. But it was one of those first introductions of really hearing a different type of Tom DeLonge song, because there's I Feel So and All Systems Go that have hints of Blink, but it still sounds new and fresh. Where it's almost all slow for pretty much like the entire song, except for pretty much I think like the bridge gets really big, and it just like the lyrics, and also the lyrics. You can't really like relate to these lyrics like you could like a typical Tom DeLonge song. They're very kind of out there and very like,
I don't know what the fuck it's about. Still, I still don't know what the fuck this
no
song's
idea.
about. I have no clue.
No, not at all.
I don't know what Langley is.
There's...
One of the most fucking confusing ones is whatever. Get rid of Langley. And
its secrets too?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck Langley or its secrets are. What is that? Who the fuck's Langley and who's his secrets?
Because like I made a joke as a kid, like because it's like I saw Virginia get rid of Langley and its secrets too, and I'm like, is Langley a town in the state of Virginia? Like, what happened in that town? Or
the fucking
I didn't know.
Like the fucking box that cures cancer, like all this different shit. Like, I don't know what he's talking.
Yeah.
Like, in a way, I almost feel like he's talking, because there's times where I go, oh, well, that's about like his dream world. Like if everything was like perfect. But then there's other lines where I'm like, that has nothing to do with this song. That's not what he's saying at all.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I said, it's like this whole song is just like it's Ava 1.0 or like Ava 0.5.
This is the first, I would say, on Boxcar Racer on this record, this is the first song where you hear those. Like the first two songs have element of Blink. This one, you're getting the elements of Ava, where you're like, oh, okay. Like, and once again, like the dynamics and shit, but also Ava dynamics, because they're changing it up here. Like you were saying, this one, and part of what I like about this song is that it never really blows up. It never goes anywhere too crazy. Like it kind of, it does in the bridge before it goes to the acoustic guitar, but like overall it keeps more of its like energy about the same level the whole time before that, which is something that they're not doing on all the other songs, So this is also, I mean, not to jump forward, but like I like that about this and Elevator. I kind of like how neither of them really ever have the build up that the other songs do, because after a while you listen to this album and you're expecting that build up in every song. You're waiting for the moment for shit just to go off. Like in every song on Boxcar Racer, you're like, at some point, shit's gonna pop. Shit's gonna just start popping here, and it never really happens. Like I said, once again, it does for a second on Watch the World, but it doesn't do it like other songs. And then same with Elevator. It's like it never really goes to this crazy fucking place. And I like that because it's different for this, because all the other songs do that. But it has that Ava vibe to it from kind of keeping it the whole way through. Because I don't feel like Ava does too much of the quiet, loud. I feel like they're kind of like, they have their build-ups in the intro. Build. Yeah, they build in like the intro. Yeah. And then after that, they don't do it so much. Like then it kind of keeps going. But I don't feel like they do it as much with there.
Yeah. It's just one of those songs that like I never hated it as a kid. But, like, because there was not a lot of relatability to it, it was just one of those ones where, like, I was able to skip without thinking I've missed out on something.
Yeah.
But it's not like like I said, I didn't hate this song. It was just, I didn't relate to it, so there wasn't anything for me to, like, it was just a lot of questions. Who is Virginia and who is Langley? And, like, what is this box? Or, like, where is this field that grows perfection, full of things you do?
Well, here's where more confusion goes, because I've been thinking about this. I still don't know the Langley thing, but I do know that there's that Macbeth shoe that used to be called the Langley. I have no clue what Langley fucking is, but it obviously means something to Tom, because he also named a shoe Langley.
That is true.
I don't know if it's a person. I don't know if it's a place. Like, but and I also know what you're saying, because I got to say, like, I don't ever remember hating this song, but I definitely think I like it as I get older. It's a song that I've probably appreciated more within more recent years than I did the first couple years listening to this album. Because at that point, I was more into the songs that were more like, oh, this sounds like Blink-182 without Mark. Like, definitely when I started listening to this, those were my favorite songs. The ones where you'd go, this just sounds like Markless Blink. But, as I go on, it's more of these songs where I'm like, no, it's unique. It's like, this is the one album they put out, and it's a very unique thing to hear from them. They never did it again like that. And this one, he does it a couple times, but Watch the World, I think, is a good example. Like, because Travis is obviously known as being a crazy drummer and doing fills and all this crazy shit. And really, for the most part on here, this is a good example of him really being a pretty tasteful drummer, I feel like. Like, him kind of being able to strip it back a little more and still do something really good. Like, I mean, doing really good Travis shit, but he's not doing crazy out of place shit. He can kind of find his place, I think, really well on a song like this, and kind of for him to do something different, Yeah,
we didn't really get into it a whole lot at the beginning of this. It's like kind of like a vague album retrospect to start it, and just like kind of like a brief introduction. But like one of the things I definitely wanted to bring up, and I have it written in this song, but I have it written for multiple songs, that Travis kills it on this album without having to do anything too crazy.
Yes. Well, you know what, dude, on fucking we didn't really talk about it, but All Systems Go, that fucking great drum performance. And I mean, sonically too, the drums just sound fucking amazing. Yeah,
it's funny. It's something I look back on, and I remember hearing about it, and I was like, where did I hear this? And I had to find it on Tom's Pursuit of Tone interview documentary thing he did for Ernie Ball Strings. And he was talking about Boxcar Racer and just like the recording process of that. And one of the things that he said was that in the verses and choruses, how they do this, big, small, like dynamic, is that on the verses, they would set Travis up with like really small, simple drum kits. Probably a bass drum, a snare, a hi-hat, maybe a crash or something, like very small kit. And then for the choruses, they go to a bigger, multi-cymbal, X amount of tom drum kit to make it really big and like dynamic. And a lot of the shit that I love that Travis does on this record, and like just on this song and just other songs, is just like he does a lot of like marching band drum roll snare work.
Yes, he does.
But he does really cool, like either like these, like, I don't know what to call them, I'm not a drummer, but little like hi-hat swells.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Like a quick little open hi-hat, like thing. I don't know, I'm not a drummer, but he does some really cool stuff without having to be a crazy drummer. And this is where, like I wrote, like just the simple note is just like the drums are so nice on this song.
They work really well. Like it kind of like it's funny because I do think that's something that Adam Willard does well too, is he kind of plays that like that kind of marching band drumish way, like in Ava. Like I think it works well with what they're doing, and I feel like I think he does it kind of too, later on in Angels. But yeah, like Travis does do that a lot on here. You're right. There's like tons of songs where he does kind of the marching band thing, but adds the Travis Barker thing. You know what I mean? Like adds the Travis flair to it, but in very tasteful ways. I think the other thing he does is he'll find, like, this album, I think more than others, he'll keep a consistent, like, almost play in the pocket. Like he'll find a cool drum beat and he'll keep that going. You know what I mean? Like instead of adding up different shit and changing things up too much, I feel like he finds that really good place and he plays it kind of straight, not even straight because he does embellishes and shit, but it's like he's not doing fills and stuff.
It's like it's basically Travis Barker's like most simplest like drum work.
Yes.
But there's still like dynamic work to it that totally shines through on this record.
Oh, absolutely. I think for sure, and I think you're right about this one being a a big highlight of that. I think one of his best ones, and we should have gotten that at the beginning, because you are right. Like, because you think of Tom a lot on this record, just because obviously he's singing and playing guitar and shit, but like you kind of forget like Travis was just a part of, I mean, this really is 2/3 of Blink on this record. And, Travis is another one who, did come in and didn't just play drums just like he would on a Blink record. I think he gave a shit and came in and actually gave it like the love it needed. Because that's the other thing too, is like, I know Mark was, fucking bummed out and shit and everything about how it went down. But it's like, what I will say is Travis wasn't just thrown in there just as like, well, this is just a guy from that band, so it will help sell more records because, it's another guy from Blink or anything like that. He actually, like, complements the record. Like, he is part of what makes the record good. Like, he's not someone who's just in there and it's like, whether or not Travis was on this, like, it wouldn't make a difference. It 100% do. Like, these songs, a lot of their edge, really, actually, when I talk about dynamics, I mean, his drumming's part of it, because he might lay low a little bit in the verses and then just go fucking nuts in the choruses, So like he's a big part of that dynamic as well. His drumming is a huge part of that,
Yeah, and like one thing that got mentioned is that like Travis basically was brought into this band essentially just to play the drums because Tom didn't want to pay for a studio drummer. And Travis was available, so he's just like, hey, bud, like, you want to play drums on this record that I'm doing? So it wasn't even like, as far as I'm aware, that Travis was like involved through the recording process. From what it seems like, as far as things that I've seen and read, that he kind of just came in and did the drums in like a couple days.
Fuck.
So he came in and basically gave it the Travis Barker flair without really having to embellish on like the drums, and just kind of, like you said, he's pretty straightforward for the most part, but again, it's Travis, so there's going to be little parts that it's just like super cool and unique that are just not normal in like a basic drummer who like sits in the pocket and just does what they do and like maybe changes it up on a couple like fills. He does stuff that like he infuses so many different like styles of music into his drumming that he can kind of do whatever. So doing something as simple as this record, but still doing things to give it more life it's great. It's so good. And like, it's one thing I definitely wanted to bring up is that Travis definitely like his part on this record, it definitely shows. And it's not like he's doing a whole lot, but he is.
Yeah. Oh, you were fucking dead on with that, like the way you're describing his drumming on this album. And I think too, like that's something you have to really give Tom and Mark as well, is that I think they realize what they have. Like Travis Barker is like one of the best fucking drummers, like of any genre really. And like what you said, he knows so many different styles and shit. And the thing is that Mark and Tom, whether it be in Boxcar Racer, whether it be in Blink, whether it be in Plus 44, anytime they've played with Travis, they don't try to contain him. You know what I mean? Like they let him do that. They go, if he wants to do a beat that is not just a like fucking, like halftime punk beat, like they let him do shit that is like totally out of the realm of pop punk. And it's like all it's done is add to the band, like all it's done is made the music better. But you have to give them credit too, because they're the ones who could be like, no, like dumb this down, because you hear that in a lot of bands where it's like, hey, I wanted to add this flair, this thing that maybe you don't normally hear in this genre. Like I want to blend genres and shit. And you have other band members who aren't for it. Whereas with Mark and Tom, I feel like they're like, Travis, you know what you're doing. Like you're the fucking virtuoso here. Like you do what you think works, and he knows what works. So, it's smart that it's smart that they listen to the guy.
Yeah, when I was in a band, we ended up having to switch drummers at one point, and the drummer that we got was a friend of ours who doesn't listen to pop punk, doesn't like pop punk. It's just not his thing, and that's the kind. We were in a pop punk, pop rock, whatever you want to call it, band, and he came from the realm of death metal, and so like all his shit's like super fast and like crazy fills and this and that, but he along the same lines as Travis, was well versed in a lot of different genres. So when he started jamming with us, when we started writing new songs, it was awesome working with him because he didn't just do your basic pop punk drum fills and drum beats, because that just wasn't his style. So a lot of the things that he was adding to like our songs were like these super dynamic, splash cymbal, hi-hat, like almost like dance beats. Like,
oh, fuck yeah.
Like, it was super cool, and like I loved it, and like our producer was not a fan, so they tried to dull him down in the studio, which really sucked. But it brought such a change to the band that we needed as far as like going to the next step of like our progression that I don't think we could have done without him. And same thing with this, like even though Travis isn't doing a lot on this record, he's adding things to just make it more unique. So it's not just like, oh yeah, any studio drummer could do this, or we'll just get a drum sample off of like the computer, like we'll just fill that in. No, they got a guy.
They got a
who's
good fucking
awesome.
one.
Yeah, and it's not like he had to do much. Like for this record, there's not a lot of things that like this record requires when it comes to drumming. It's pretty straightforward stuff, but he just adds just a little bit of flair to it that makes it just so good.
He is. His fucking drum performances on this record's great, and on Watch the World, really, really fucking good. Before we go to the next one, I mean, any other remarks on Watch the World? I mean, it's a great song. Really, first foreshadow of Ava for sure. And you know what actually surprised me too? I do want to say this will be my last thing on it is I'm surprised they didn't cover this more. Like I know Angels will do like Boxcar Racer covers, but I was looking this up and I could not find any videos of them covering this live. How the fuck is that possible? How is this not the most covered fucking song when Ava's playing? Like how is this not the one that they're playing?
Yeah, I don't know. That
makes zero fucking sense.
I never really thought about it until just now, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense because they did There Is, like that was the main one that they'd always do.
Which doesn't sound like Angels and Airwaves to me. That song sounds nothing like Ava.
I think it was just one of those things because like I remember seeing Ava during like I think it was their first big tour. They toured with like Taking Back Sunday and like Head Automatica.
Yeah, that was like off the first record. It was like their first big one.
Yeah, and like there was a section where like the band went off stage and like all of a sudden Tom's like in the back of like this outdoor arena, like all the way up in like the essentially what you would consider the nosebleed seats with a microphone. And you just hear like this kind of this really repetitive instrumental like music kind of coming through as he gives a little speech. He hits the stage and plays There Is. And I knew he was going to do it just because I saw videos from other shows. But I think the only reason why There Is was the song was because of the fact that it was a hit for Boxcar Racer, but also it's like it gave Tom the time to like do like the one song solo acoustic jam in front of everyone without the rest of the band.
That makes sense. I was fucking bummed because I saw those videos for years of him doing some good, some bad. There are definitely some that should not have been covered, but like in the beginning where he would still cover like I Miss You and a couple Blink songs and more like Boxcar Racer songs. But the first time I saw them live, I was expecting one or two, and I don't think they played any. They may have, part of me wants to say they played a Boxcar Racer song, and I can't remember what one, but that may not be true at all. Which the other thing, this was after I Empire came out, so maybe at that point they had enough songs where they're like, all right, fuck it, we're not going to do that anymore. But it did bum me out because I remember seeing videos too where I'm like, fuck, I hope they, Blink was broken up at this point, so I'm like, fuck, come out and sing a Blink song or something. Like, do something. Like, I want to hear, you know what I mean? Like, but at the same... Sorry, go ahead.
The only ones that the only ones I recall him doing as far as, like, Angels and Airwaves are concerned was he did I Miss You, and he would do part of Reckless Abandon before going into, like, that Rites of Spring song.
Yeah, there was only like two. He didn't do a lot of them. He did those, and then he'd do not Tiny Voices. He did There Is, and then he might have. I think they did maybe Letters to God, or maybe I think they might have did one other Boxcar Racer song.
Letters to God would make some sense because, spoiler alert, I wrote that as another Ava precursor.
But that one's
song.
not even surprising though, because fuck, I mean, later on he does fucking part 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this song's fucking good. I mean, I just cannot believe they have not covered it. And I know Tom is probably listening to this on his birthday the day it comes out. So if you're listening to this, man, once as he's eating fucking cake with his he got his whole family around. They're listening to this right now as they're opening gifts and fucking eating cake. And dude, whenever live shows come back, you got to fucking start playing this in the Angels and Airwaves set. You got to fucking, how you don't play Watch the World is beyond me. So that's my closing
Maybe he
remark
forgot
on
about
that.
it.
You know what? Maybe he fucking did, but that's that. Start fucking playing it. But moving on to Tiny Voices, one that doesn't sound like an Angels and Airwaves song at all. First thing I got to say, I think this should have been a single. Now, I don't think they did a bad job. I got to say on this, because like we brought it up so much on the Green Day one, like I thought they did a good job single-wise on this album. Like There Is and I Feel So are good singles. I think they did a good job on that. But I still feel like Tiny Voices really probably should have been pushed a little more, because this is a lot like All Systems Go to me, where it has that brattiness, that youthful energy of Tom DeLonge. It's essential Tom DeLonge to me. Like if we're putting songs together, compiling a list of like what are essential Tom DeLonge songs, this is probably on there. Like this song, I think really encapsulates that a lot. And I think once again, like All Systems Go, I think lyrically it seems to kind of have that same thing. Like something about it kind of gives me that vibe of like it's kind of about, and I don't even know that I know exactly to, pinpoint the exact meaning of the song, but I feel like it kind of has to do with, your teenage years or adolescence and youth, and has that kind of youthful frustration and shit to it, So I get that vibe. I do kind of think of it in the same way that I think of All Systems Go. But just like All Systems Go, I think it's one of the strongest songs on the album. I fucking love this song. Like what are your thoughts on this one?
I kind of had all the same things that like literally you just said.
Great
I
fucking
definitely
minds, dude.
Yeah, right. But one thing I guess I'll also add to it is more or less just kind of like, I guess you could say lyrically, like what the song is about, or like how it makes it feel. Like I remember hearing this song for myself roughly around around the time the album came out, maybe a little bit after, because I think I had this thing first. I had Dragging the Lake from Atticus, that
Fuck
first
yeah.
Dragging the Lake like mix, and that had this song on here. And listening to it, I remember listening to that whole like record, but like knowing that like Boxcar Racer was like at least a thing. And I remember just thinking like, I don't know what Tiny Voices means in particular. This me at the time was, I was like, it makes me feel like wanting to speak up about things, but no one wants to listen to you. And when you finally do say something, like people didn't give a fuck. Like,
Ooh,
I felt like
that.
Tiny Voices. Yeah, it was like, because, well, I guess the thing that gets super repetitive is like tiny, like it's like that, the part of the chorus, tiny voices make things harder. Everybody will be let down. Which is in my head, I always felt like it was me, like I had a tiny voice. So like trying to tell people like how I was feeling or my thoughts on things, it felt like if I were to say something, like everyone would just be like, oh, that's really what you wanted to say about this topic, or that's really how you're feeling about this thing. Like get out of here. So like, I felt like this song was very relatable because I wanted to speak up about things, but I didn't know how. And if I did, I was worried about being judged. So there was a lot of times that I didn't say what I wanted to. And this song made me feel, that was like the first time I felt that type of feeling in a song, where I was like, hey, this song relates to me in that way. Like, and I felt more comfortable being able to say things because I knew there was someone else that kind of had, at least how I thought of the song. Someone had the same thought process as me in that scenario.
That makes sense. I mean, that's that relatability that, we kind of keep getting back to with him, where like, whether it's the way he dresses, the way he plays, like whatever it is, it's like, it's that obtainability thing. And it's same with this. Like, he's not like, for the exception really of like Watch the World, like he doesn't try to be too cryptic. Like, I mean, even this, even though it may not be, it's kind of up for interpretation, it's not so fucking left field that you don't know at all. You kind of, like you said, like you can put, like Watch the World, I can't put anything to. Whereas with this, you can put your own spin on it how you feel. Like it gives you, like you said, like you have your way that you relate to it, and it makes total sense with the lyrics. I think you're spot on, like the way you're explaining it. But like I think that's what works with him, is he does that so well. And another part I think too he does so fucking great is that part where he's like, everybody will be let down. Like the way he's like, he sings it almost like throaty, like it's just really kind of snarl, like really fucking good. Like the delivery of it is amazing.
What I wrote is that as far as how these songs go, this is the first song that I felt he was like literally yelling these lyrics where
Yes.
I felt the most like aggressive passion in this song, especially like in the ending where he just repeatedly everybody will be let down. Like it just sounds so like, it sounds like he's so pissed off singing that like it made me like feel it even more. And like, yeah, it sounds throaty and aggressive and harsh.
And going back to complimenting Travis's drumming on this, what he's playing underneath him doing that works so fucking well. Like just that little snare thing that he keeps doing underneath it. And even the guitar too, like just the way, just that like rhythm they're playing. They kind of have the guitars muted. They're not even playing notes, but just they're kind of playing, actually they're playing the rhythm to the drums, really. They're kind of playing the same rhythm that the snare is. And it just like, it adds so much to his fucking snarl from it. Like just another part where you really realize how well Travis and Tom really like work well. Like you got to give him that, being that one is someone, Travis is like this drummer who just knows all these styles. I mean, we've been talking about this podcast, like just knows all these different styles, knows his shit, knows theory, knows what he's doing. And you have Tom who comes from the other side of that school where it's like, he doesn't fucking know shit at all. But it
throwing darts at a wall.
Exactly. But look at how well that dynamic works. Like, I think that's part of, and Blink too. I mean, cause Mark's kind of in the same boat as Tom. Like Mark and Tom are in the boat of, they're pretty simple and easy to play shit. Travis is a different story. Travis is like one of the best fucking drummers out there. And that dynamic, I think, works so well. Like the simplicity of what Tom's doing with the complexity and simplicity of what Travis is doing just works so fucking well. And on this song, definitely underneath there with his drumming, but also guitar. Like I think this is one of the best riffs on the album. Like I love that opening riff. Like it's really like, there's nothing that crazy about it, but it's just different. Like if you listen to it, it's a very different riff for Tom. It doesn't sound like a Tom guitar riff at all.
Oh yeah, no. But what's so funny is that it goes into something like that, into the verse where it's literally just like, I'm pretty sure it's the same repeated octave note the entire verse.
And that's very
There's
Tom-like.
no change. Yeah, it goes from like that super cool, like completely different Tom like intro riff to something that's so just like plain and simple. But I guess that's like the beauty of this album, is of like the simplicity and the dynamicness. I don't even know if that's a word. Just the dynamics and the simplicity of this record are merged so well between like Tom, Travis, and we'll throw David in there, even though I don't really know what he does on this album as far as riff goes.
Which I would like to know. Like I would like to interview him one day and just ask his involvement on the album, because I do wonder that too. Like I wonder, because like we're saying, it's like, oh, this riff sounds different for Tom. For all I fucking know, maybe David fucking wrote more riffs than we realize. Like maybe this has David written all over it.
Oh, it very well could be. And like, I don't want to underplay David's contribution to the record, because obviously he's on it.
We just don't know.
Definitely. We just don't. Yeah. It's like when I was in a band, like I was considered the lead guitar player, but I played rhythm a shit ton. And So some people will be like, "Oh, that's a cool riff." I'm like, I do nothing in that riff. Or like, yeah, I'm the lead guitar player, but I didn't write any of this, and I don't play that. My other guitar player, whose rhythm plays that, even though it's a lead. It's confusing. So like, it would be nice to actually know really what David's doing on this record, because the whole record is really good. And even oddly enough, I didn't really know this, but their bass player that was on this record, was it Anthony or whatever?
Well, he actually wasn't on the record. Tom played bass on the record.
No, he wasn't on the record. Tom played bass on the record, but like every time you see a picture of Boxcar Racer, it's always the four guys.
Yeah, Anthony's in it.
So,
Anthony Celestino.
Yeah, I always just said like Costello, just because I never really looked it up. But yeah, I would like to know what he's doing, just even in the recording process, because it would be nice to know like where his style and where his influences may have come from. Because it kind of, I always feel like Angels and Airwaves was such a Tom project that everything kind of revolves around Tom's guitar riffs and Tom's lyrics and Tom's ideas. So, I mean, for all I know, Dave had a lot of, he had a lot to say on those and a lot to play on those records too. But I always feel like AVA was very Tom heavy, with everyone else just kind of filling in like the blank spots, where I feel like Dave definitely did something on this. I would just like to know what, and like if you were able to somehow pull an interview with that and get that answer, that would be great to hear, because that's something I've always wanted to know.
I think you'd have to be in here for that. You could be fucking on there. We'll grill him on it. Like, what the fuck did you do on this record? That brings up something that I was thinking about though earlier too, where, don't get me wrong, the bass playing on this album isn't bad, but it's very much an afterthought, because Tom was just kind of played bass on it just because it needed to get done. I would like to see what this album would have sounded like if he got someone who was dedicated to actually writing bass lines. You know what I mean? Like someone who really because there's nothing crazy on here. His bass playing's not bad, but he plays very much just root notes, like kind of just what needs to be played. Like it's a lot, like if there's a predictable thing on this record, I would say it's the bass playing. Like the bass lines are pretty predictable. There's not a lot of fills and shit. Like, I would like to hear someone, including because the bands that he was influenced by, those post-hardcore bands like Quicksand, like Fugazi and all those fucking bands had very interesting bass players. Like, like a lot of those bass lines in those bands were doing very interesting shit. And I would like to hear, like, some more bass-heavy songs on this. Maybe it's just a bass player in me, but, like, like more bass on this, like more interesting bass lines, maybe somewhere it has a bass intro, like different shit like that, because I think it would have added more to what he was going for, as he was talking about like the ode to that like genre and that like era of music. I think had he had a bass player who was in there more than just Tom going, because Tom probably just went and go, I'm just playing root notes over. Like he played bass on that record like a guitar player who plays bass, who just thinks that it's just fucking root notes, and he's like, oh, it's just fucking bass. Like it's just root. Like I'm just gonna play root notes.
Then, I mean, as soon as I say this one line, you'll probably know where I'm going with this. But let me ask you this then. As I said to you the other day, you being more of like the punk rock historian of the two of us for sure, who do you think could have added a dynamic to the bass playing of this that would make it still Boxcar?
Ooh.
But just add a little bit more of that bite to it, because I don't have an answer, but it would be interesting to know your view on it, because
this is a great fucking question. This is a good question, dude. I have to think for a second. Okay, one comes to mind, and this could entirely just be because of fucking Skiba Now, but I'm not even fucking around when I say this. I wonder if Danny would have been good, because Danny comes from the same fucking like of Alkaline Trio. Like he comes from the same kind of like background, but he does different shit. You know what I mean? He's not like Mark Hoppus, where Mark plays pretty straight shit. Danny does add in like different fills, and like there are Alkaline Trio songs where the bass is doing more than the guitar is. Like the guitar's just playing fucking power chords. Oh shit, we lost him again, folks. Wait 1 second, we just lost Kyle. This is what happens, folks.
I don't know what is going on.
The fucking the powers that be don't want us fucking talking to Mark Hoppus. Just fucking cut off the Mark Hoppus keeps cutting our line. He doesn't want us talking about this record. It still hurts.
I think he read my text that I sent to you the other day about bringing up plus 44, and he must have somehow gotten into my phone and found out that information.
He's tapping the lines, dude. He's tapping the fucking lines. That's what It Hurts is about, actually, is the song It Hurts is about the first time Mark heard Boxcar Racer. Just that's what that song. Why am I roasting Mark Hoppus? I love Mark Hoppus.
Right?
It's tough
but
love.
No, like as you were saying, yeah. But no, as you were saying about Dan's bass style, because now that you said that, like, not that I'm fully picturing it, but I can definitely try, like, kind of just thinking about some of these songs, like hearing some of his just unique, like, running bass lines that he throws in. And like you said, he does more on some songs than what the guitar is doing, which I think is great, especially for, bass players everywhere. They need more of that. So yeah, that'd be cool. I wouldn't know what it would be, but that's an interesting thought. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, my thought too comes from Dan. I know listens and is influenced by all those bands that Tom was trying to like go like this is an ode to. So it's like Danny would be able to get in that mindset. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he would be able to kind of be in that. And I mean, that's just off the top of my head. I mean, it's a great question. I'm trying to think of other, because I'm also thinking of like you know who one actually would probably be good, even though at the time he wasn't in the band. Actually, fuck, I forget. I think he plays bass for Angels and Airwaves now, but I was going to say Matt Rubano of Taking Back Sunday is another one, because he's someone who's like, because I'm just thinking, I'm thinking of bands who are at least kind of in this same era and range. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking of bands from that era who would have toured with them, or at least kind of been contemporaries and shit. And those are kind of the people I'm thinking of, like Dan, or I mean Matt, because Matt's another one who is really a classically trained fucking bass player. Like he's fucking like he's like a Berkeley dude, and like really plays interesting bass lines. This is another one who I think is influenced by a lot of the bass players who played in those bands who influenced Boxcar Racer. So it's like he could be a really interesting one, because he's not one to play root notes. Like he would not play anything like Tom played on that record. His playing would be totally different. But that's funny, because I totally forgot. I actually think he's their live bass player now. If I'm not mistaken, he plays with them.
I think he does now, or at least has done some recording stuff with them at least.
He's played with everyone now. He was in the All-American Rejects for a minute. He played with fucking Patrick Stump when Patrick Stump was solo. I saw him live once, and he was the bass player. He fucking people forget he played bass on the big Lauryn Hill record. I forget the name of it, but like her really big record. Whoa. He was like, he was the studio bass player on her big record back in the 90s.
Wow.
The education or the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, he was a fucking session. He's a session bass player. Like he knows his shit, so he would be a good one. I don't know. You really have me thinking now. Like that's a great question of like who would actually be in it, because I would like to see that. Because like we were talking about, like Travis came in, and then in the beginning it was kind of like Tom just needed a drummer, but Travis came in and went the extra mile. And that's kind of my thing with the bass players. Like I would have liked to see a bass player come in and go, well, yeah, I could just play this underneath that. I could just play what you're playing on bass, or I could actually fucking do like cool runs and shit like that, you know? So I don't know. I would have to think of more, but those two come off the top of my head is maybe would be good ones.
Cool.
But the other thing I would say about this song, I guess to kind of get like closing remarks on Tiny Voices, I could hear this on Untitled. I actually think this. I don't know. Like I'd like your opinion on it. You know, if you agree or not. But like, I think the bridge to this song is very Blink-like. And I do think, and once again, I'm coming from that person who heard Untitled before I heard Boxcar Racer, but I think I could hear this song on Untitled. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I could hear this on Untitled.
You know what? I've never thought about it. never considered it. But now trying to listen to the song in my head right now. I guess it's kind of another one of those I feel. So like, I can kind of picture it, but not really.
Can I tell you where I would put it though? Here's what I have in my head, and it's almost specific. I would put it as track 2. I want you to think of feeling because it would be a more upbeat song on Untitled. Because the thing is, it doesn't sound like the more downer songs. Like I would not put it on side B. I feel like maybe track 2. I feel like if you went in from Feeling This into Tiny Voices, would actually be a fucking really good 1-2 punch.
Let's see here. I'm listening. I'm hearing it in my head right now. Let's see.
And you can tell me I'm fucking nuts.
You know what? I can hear that riff following the end of Feeling This.
And it's very specific, dude, because when I think about it, I don't know that it would fit many other places. That song would not fit after like I Miss You. It wouldn't fit by Down and shit. I think it would fit as like track 2. But you know what? To be honest, Feeling This works really well, but think about it. Where else would Feeling This fit on Untitled? Think about that for a second. Feeling This would sound fucking weird anywhere else on track 1. It's kind of different than a lot of the rest of the record.
And that's kind of the Blink thing, though. Like, I can't picture like really any of their number one like tracks anywhere else. Like, could you imagine like Dumpweed anywhere else?
Fuck, you're right. Yeah, dude, you are right with that. I don't know that I could. There's really not. Yeah, you know what? Now that you say that, none of their albums are coming to mind where I'm like, I could see like track 1 being this other track. You are right about that.
I mean, I can picture like we talked about on the top 5. Like if what is it? Oh my God! Don't Tell Me That It's Over. Like I could picture that being track 1, like on that album. But that means Anthem Part 2 wouldn't exist. Then, because I wouldn't know where to put Anthem Part 2 then, because Anthem Part 2 is such an intro song.
Like even if it was track 2, it would sound fucking weird. Like that being a track 2 on an album would sound fucking odd.
It would almost, what you would have to do you would almost have to have a song, like kind of like what we were saying on, I think it was on, the Insomniac, where like Brain Stew and Jaded like go together, you know, like perfect. Or like the Panic song, like that bass intro, that whole intro goes into the actual song itself, where they might have been 2 separate songs. The only way I can see Anthem Part 2 being a song somewhere else, if there was something that built to that, like drum snap to guitar intro.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, it would have to. Yeah, it would almost have
there
to
would be some sort of intro to it.
Yeah, like even if it was a different song, they would have to like work them together. Like the outro of the first song would have to work into the intro of Anthem Part 2 to work. I totally get what you're saying. But yeah, man. I mean, anything else for Tiny Voices? I mean, it's a great fucking song.
No, I'm actually interested to see how you think about this next song.
I was thinking the same thing with you, because Cat Like Thief. Well, I'll start. I actually really like this song. I feel like this is probably the most polarizing song on the record, because I feel like you're either gonna like Tim's parts or you're not. Like I feel like he's the big reason why we're both wondering what the other one feels like about this song. Like you're either a fan of what Tim Armstrong's doing in this song, or you're not. Like that's just the thing. I don't think anyone kind of likes it. You're either gonna like it or you're not. And full disclosure, I mean, and I know you because you're fucking. We've talked about like Operation Ivy being like, you know, one of the bands that got you into punk. Like we both know Tim Armstrong prior to this. Like you go in knowing who this is, so it's like you already know his voice, you know his cadence, you know how he does it. If you don't, you might go, "Who's this guy having a stroke while he's singing this song?" Like, why is this man having a stroke in the vocal booth, and why isn't somebody helping him?
Oh shit! Oh man, that is great and terrible at the same time.
Why is Jerry Finn not helping that man?
somebody call 911. This guy's having, Jesus. Yeah, no, this song, like you were saying, it's like you either love it or you hate it. And I like, there's kind of an in between, but it's more like there's times where I love it at what Tim Armstrong's doing, and there's times where I'm like, what are you doing, bro?
Okay, there's one part. Well, actually, here you go on, and there's one part I've written down of my criticism of this song with him.
Okay, so what I'll say first is this. I don't know if this is a true statement or not, but I heard this a long time ago, and it's just been a factoid that's stuck with me. Maybe I saw it on Music Choice as like one of those little pop-up notes.
Oh, fuck yeah, I loved those.
But I saw somewhere that when Tim went to do vocals on this song, they recorded him for hours doing either the intro to this song or just the whole song in general. But at the end of all the recordings, they just went and took the first take that he did.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
I could
so
see
I don't know
that.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that they just ended up just using the first take of his when they recorded him so many times. And the only other thing I'll say about anything of the vocals, because I've known this forever and I've never been able to figure it out. Where the fuck can you hear Jordan from Newfound Glory on this song?
Dude, I just finally heard it today because I'm the same way, and then you realize it is him harmonizing with Tom in the chorus. I always think it's just Tom doing that dum, yeah. But if you really listen, and you have to listen really carefully, you got to listen really carefully, but he actually, which to be fair, he should be up more in the mix, but he does sound really good harmonizing with Tom. I actually wrote that down because you normally can't hear it, but when you know it's there and you do finally hear it, it sounds really good together. Like their vocals almost mesh together to sound like one voice. But I do think he should be brought up in the mix way fucking more than he is.
Because that was the only thing I can think of is that he was in like a layering of like the whole "Don't Leave Her." Like
he is the entire every chorus. That's him singing that underneath there with Tom.
But I was never able to decipher if that was him or not. So even now I'm like, in my notes I literally just put, "Where is Jordan?"
Can I tell you what's funny though? Up until today, I'm telling you, I finally heard his voice today, and when I was getting ready, I'm like, wasn't Jordan on a song on this record? And then I looked on Wikipedia and it said Cat Like Thief, and that's when I was damned. I had to find his voice in it. That's when I'm not kidding. Today's the first time I really heard it in there. But like, I couldn't even remember what song he was on. I'm like, I just remembered that Jordan was a part of it somehow. I'm like, am I crazy? I'm like, I'm pretty sure he sang on this record. And then I looked it up and it was Cat Like Thief. And that was my reaction too. I'm like, what fucking part is he singing? And then if you actually listen, I think they're kind of in the same range. Like, once again, the reason is he's not in the mix well enough. He should be brought up more. But I think another part is their vocal range, I think is kind of similar. And they really do. They're almost in unison at times. Like, it almost sounds like one voice. Kind of to their compliment, really. I mean, actually, like, I think that's really cool, too. The choruses, I think, are one of the best parts of that song, meshing those all together. But, like, kind of going back, though, real quick, like, with Tim, I mean, because it's just such a big part of the song. You can't talk about the song without talking about that. For one, I don't know that it's a bad thing that they used his first take, because he sings in such a unique way in his phrasing that I think it's kind of like I was talking about earlier, we're trying to do something a certain way. Like, once you force him to sing it a way where you go, you know what I mean? Like, you do take one and then you start referencing take one as like, this is the way it's sung. You start doing that where it's formulaic and it's like you're trying to sing a certain way. Then you fuck it up and it's not as genuine, it's not as good. I can see where Tim Armstrong would be a guy where if you just let him go in on track one and just do his fucking Tim Armstrong thing, that's probably going to be the best take. Like, so I could see that. Because, like, this is an interesting one. Actually, fucking shout out our buddy Zach who did the Blink-182 one with us. We're actually going to have him on this one. But what I realized, I kind of feel bad, too, because I told him he would do this with us. But I started thinking about it, and last time me and Kyle here did the Green Day album analysis, that's like a 4-hour episode for two for two people to get through. So I was thinking, if there's three of us going through this record, it's going to take 6 fucking hours. Like, this is going to be a mini series if there's three of us.
Yeah. Well, technically, I'll say this just for my sake of this end of the joke. He is here with us. He's just very low in the mix.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, you can't hear him. He's just really low. He's kind of the Jordan Pundik of this episode. He's Jordan in this episode, basically. You can't really hear him. It's featuring Zach Gorszewski. You just can't hear him anywhere. He's just harmonizing so well with he's harmonizing so well with Kyle that you can't hear him underneath. Like him and Kyle just it sounds like they're singing in unison. But me and him have we've kind of been on freeze just because my voice has been fucked up. I was gonna take a crack at covering What's My Age again, and we got as far as the vocals, which I don't know. I'm not a great singer, so I don't know how I'll do. But anyway, we're talking about different songs to cover. And Cat Like Thief is a big one because he's like, we like the Tim Armstrong parts. I'm like, I would love to try to do it because I'm like, you can't even try to do Tim's parts. You have to try to do something else because if you tried to sing that and mimic Tim, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I don't fucking, like, it's not going to sound good at all. Like, if you tried to copy that and tried to replicate that, which is also going to why I think they took track one. If you try to replicate that, it's not going to fucking sound pretty at all.
Well, and what's also really, I'll say what's great in like a funny way, but like it kind of annoys me when I do try to look it up on occasion, is that if you look up like Boxcar Racer live and they have Cat Like Thief, Tom does not sing Tim's parts.
Wait, who does? I didn't know they even played this live.
No one.
What the fuck?
One. They just play that part like instrumentally, and then Tom comes in like, I wrote it down a list a month ago. Yeah, he just comes in. Like, that's what the first thing he sings.
I blame Painkillers on that. Who the fuck thinks that sounds good? Who would do that live? What the fuck? That sounds terrible.
Yeah, and again, like, hey, it's not easy to try to replicate Tim's voice.
So don't do it. I know, but don't play that song live.
They got to fill a 45-minute set, man, and when you only have a half hour's worth of material, you got to do something.
That's when you pull out the Barry Manilow covers, which I got to say, that cover of Mandy, I would love to hear. Have you ever heard that live song they did, Mandy? It was a cover of a Barry Manilow song, but it was really fucking good.
I'll have to revisit it because I remember that, and like, what's the other one? Like Dance With Me, right? That was like the other song.
Yeah, I forgot there was another one.
I wasn't a fan of those, and I kind of disregard them just because like they were only done live.
And they're very shitty recordings. I will say that. Like, if people wanted to go hear these, they're only dog shit recordings out there. Like the only ones that exist are really bad. Like, imagine a cell phone in the year 2002, and that's what it was recorded on. Like, these are not like board recordings. These are not like bootlegs. These are somebody fucking pulled out their flip phone that had a recording capability on it and recorded it off there.
With 2 megapixels top.
Yeah, like, I mean, this is not quality of any way. Like, when we say live versions, all there is fucking live versions, and they sound fucking rough. I do like the Mandy one, though. I'd say it's worth going back. You know what, though, dude? If you weren't into them the first time, maybe there isn't much to go back to revisit, because kind of like what we're saying is like they're just kind of live versions. So it's like, I don't know, man. If you didn't like them the first time, I don't know that you have to rush back and listen to them. But I getting back to this song though, like, why the fuck would you even play this live? Like, if you're not that I think that they need to have somebody try to take on Tim's parts, but just don't play this one live. This is the song you don't play live.
Yeah. So like, I can totally see that, and like, it definitely wouldn't be my first choice to like add to a set list. But I would say that there's 2 things that I can really highlight off of this song, and it's just Travis's drum intro.
Yeah.
Because again, it's nothing crazy, but he does like that little open like hi-hat, like open close like hi-hat hit. And it sounds like, even to this day, like, I loved it as a kid, and like way before like reviewing this album, like every time I hear this song, like I have to at least hear the drums of the song. I can hear the drums and be like, I don't want to hear Tim's part. I'll just skip to whatever song comes next. But as long as I hear that drum intro, like, I'm totally stoked. And actually the outro, which is another one of these little precursor to AVA, because they do that really unique delay guitar outro.
Yeah, dude, I wrote on here the flanger guitar effects on this song, and just a lot of the guitar effects are very Ava-like. It's not even the way they're playing them. It's just the guitar effects, the guitar tones. And that outro, too, I give credit to Jerry Finn because it's very much a product of being in the studio, because, like, all this shit's layered. Like, it's this great outro. Like, everything's fading, and, like, then you get all those vocal tracks on it and shit. Like, it's probably one of those ones where if you actually went and looked at the master, I wonder how many tracks are on that. Like, I bet even just Tom doing the Don't Leave, like, that's layered itself. That's probably quite a few just that's just Tom on Tom on Tom on Tom. Like, that, like, even just in that, like, I bet there's a lot of fucking tracks there that you wouldn't even realize. Like, really, if you started looking at the master of that, I bet that outro is fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it though. I love the outro. Like honestly, like the intro and the outro are so good that, like, when I get annoyed, like the times where I'm like, I really don't like Tim in this song, the intro and the outro can put me through it.
See, and what I will say about Tim, one thing that sticks out, I don't know who wrote the lyrics to this, but do you feel like, let me know if you feel this way, but do you ever hear a line in a song you just go, they couldn't think of a line, so they just had to say something? Those very last lines where he does, let's, like,
or the countdown.
Yes, 4x4, let's do some more. I'm like, all I can think of is they couldn't think of anything that fits there, and that just kind of fit, like, the vocal melody. That 100% makes no sense, has nothing to do with the rest of the song. It's fucking, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. And the only other thing I'll say about this song, and it is about Tim, is that I remember when I first heard this song, like, on the record, because at this point, like, most of the songs from here on out, like, the first time I heard them was listening to the record. But I remember hearing this song, knowing it was Tim Armstrong, because I had some history with Rancid and Operation Ivy. And I remember hearing his voice and being like, I haven't heard this guy's voice in like 10 years. Well, maybe not 10 years, but I'll be like, yeah, probably since like the mid 90s, you know, like, and I was like, holy crap, this is the guy from Rancid. He's still like doing music. Come to find out that they were still doing music. But I just remember being like, this guy's still around. Like, isn't he like fucked up on heroin?
I know at that point, I don't know if he was clean or not at this point. He might have been still fucked up.
No clue. I have no idea.
Maybe that's why he sounds that way. He's just strung out singing this. That's what he meant by "let's do some more." That's that line.
Let's do some more.
Yeah, he was. People don't know it. He's shooting heroin in the vocal booth while he's singing that. People.
No boy. Oh boy.
But.
Yeah, I myself, I'm pretty much. I got everything out on this song.
You know, so that, and I mean, I will say, like, normally though you are, I mean, are you normally a Tim Armstrong fan? Like, I normally you are, right? Or no?
Yeah, it was definitely, it was just one of those things. Like, it was just one. It was kind of like a shock, being like, wow, Tim Armstrong's on this. Wow, okay. And it's just like I said, there's times where I'm like, God damn it, like this is so good. And then there's times where I'm just like, what are you doing? And I think it just depends on my mood. Because another thing I wanted to bring up about this whole album is that this is very much one of these albums that I can listen to no matter my mood, whether I'm happy, sad, upset, whatever, excited. I can listen to this album and just feel good I can feel whatever I want to feel listening to this album.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right about that. It's one of those ones where, and it's not my first, like, I love this record. But I'll tell you, there's times where I just forget about it. Like, I'll go a long time without hearing it, but any time I put it on, it's always the right time. There's never a time where I put it on and I get to like track 2 or 3 and I'm like, nah, fuck it, I want to listen to something else. When I put it on, I put it fucking on. Like, I'm going to listen to the whole thing. Like, for sure.
Yeah. There's 2 records that I can listen to no matter my mood, and it's this and it's Tell All Your Friends from Taking Back Sunday.
Fuck yeah, that's a great. That's one I've not listened to in a while, and that is another really good one. That's a fucking great record.
Mm-hmm. No matter the mood, I'm always feeling it.
That is a fucking both of those are good examples of that. This song, I mean, I guess as we're kind of closing up here on this one, I gotta say though, I actually do like this song, and I definitely like it a lot more than you, because what I did write down, kind of like when we were talking about Insomniac, like, like on an album where there's like that 3-song punch where like just back to back you really like. I honestly think my favorite 3-song sequence on this record is Watch the World into Tiny Voices into Cat Like Thief, which I think now, okay. I mean, hearing you, I mean, because you gotta be in the mood for this one, you probably don't feel that way if this is the strongest part. But this is and I like the album. I mean, I like the whole album, but like those 3 songs, I feel like that sequence is like where I'm most into this record, in my opinion.
I will say it is technically my favorite 3-song, section.
But not your favorite songs on the records.
No. So this song, Cat Like Thief, is in that 3-song, like sweet spot. But it's an adjustment to where yours is. Mine starts with Tiny Voices and ends with And I.
Oh shit! Okay, I see where you're going with that. Well, then, I mean, you want to then move on to And I?
Yes.
Should we go on to the next song? Let's start off this baby then. This I feel like should be then. Which I mean, for one, the fucking drum intro, goddamn. But let's fucking get into this, man.
Yeah. So this might be one of my favorite songs of all time.
Oh, fuck yeah.
From any band, any artist, any genre, anything. When I see people on Facebook that are like, hey, send me a song to listen to and add it to my playlist, or blah, blah, blah. Give me a song that, like, you really love. I'm always posting this song. It's never like, oh, what Blink song or what Newfound or whatever. It's always this song. It's one of those songs that, like, as far as like me as a musician goes, this is that one song that I wish I could have written. Like, not just like, oh man, this sounds like a riff that my band wrote, or this sounds like something like we could have done at some point. This song is like the epitome of like what I would have loved to have as like my song that was just mine, that I could write and say I can claim forever. Everything about it I just love. The drums in the beginning, the little sweeping octave riff that he's thrown in there, and even like the lyrics of this song. It was just like, I felt like it was another one of those, like, it's super relatable to me, because like I felt like the whole song was just being about being unnoticed by people and who you would like to have as a significant other. And no matter what, like, you want this, but you can't have it, but there's something that's always going to help you through it. Mm-hmm. And whether it's your friends, music, your favorite movie, your family, when you're in a tough time and you feel like everything that you want or everything you need can't be accessed, there's something there that can help you through it. And this was like emo Kyle, like everything that I needed in my life at that time. That was like just I can't explain it. It was just everything that I wish I had as a musician, as like personally, when it came to like relationships with people and girls and this and that. It just it put together everything that I wanted in music and in life.
That's fucking cool. That's a really good. I like that. That's a great, like, because it is a great fucking song, and I think really it's one I think you've, like, I've never thought of it like, I like that song. I like this song. I guess I've never thought as deeply like you have, but you're absolutely right. It's like, it's such a strong fucking Tom song. It's not one that I think of a lot, but when I really do, like, including like you're selling me on it, it's like, God damn, like, it really is one of his best. One thing I gotta say too, like, his phrasing on it's amazing. Like I love the way, oh goddamn, we lost him again, folks. 1 second. Fucking Mark Hoppus keeps cutting my goddamn line.
This is terrible.
It's fucking Hoppus, dude. It's goddamn Hoppus. He won't stop. He needs to get over this fucking album. I mean, it's like almost 20 fucking years old, dude. Like, get the fuck over it. Right? They wrote an album without you. You got to sing on fucking Elevator. Like, quit cutting my fucking phone line, bro. God damn.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
This is like, more passive aggressive than releasing No It Isn't on Tom's birthday.
Maybe if I cut them off enough, maybe the audio would be so bad that they just can't release it.
It'll never make it all right, Mark. It'll never make it all right. You can keep cutting all the fucking lines you want. That album will never go away.
Yeah, because my phone is just literally just sitting on my table in front of me this whole time, so I'm not even touching it.
Dude, it's Hoppus.
Yeah. But, yeah, like, as you were saying, like, about this song, just, you know, how my explanation of it now that you're seeing it.
Oh, you're selling it,
maybe
man.
A different way.
No, you're selling it. It's just so fucking good.
Man. It's really fucking good. And like the one thing about this song that I remember blowing my mind the most, because it was the first time I ever noticed it, was I remember listening to it in class, and I had like one headphone in and one headphone off, you know, while doing homework, whatever it was.
Ooh, this album, there's a lot of fucking going back and forth with the speaker, or like with, you know, your fucking your left and right side.
And that's where this like blew my fucking mind. I'm sitting there listening to the song, just jamming it out. And yeah, it's that like palm muted part. Like each little chug is alternating speakers. And I was sitting there in class and like, I freaked out because I'm like, oh shit. Something's wrong with my CD or something. And I looked at it and I went and played the song again. And like, I just put both headphones in and all of a sudden I heard it and I was like, and I remember doing the whole, like one headphone in, one headphone off, one headphone in, one headphone off. And I'm like, holy shit, it's switching headphones. And it was like the most mind blowing thing like I ever experienced. Cause up until this point, I just had a stereo in my bedroom and like, it wasn't a good stereo. And so like I heard everything just at one time. So I never had something to like exclusively seclude the noise from it. Cause it was just, it's just what it was at the time. But yeah, that part, like I remember blowing my mind as a kid. And that might've been the reason why I loved the song so much to begin with, because of that one thing. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
I mean, I anytime I can say more good shit about Jerry Finn, I do. And like, that's the thing on this record is like, I was listening to it, getting ready for this on like some pretty nice monitors. And I was fucking blasting the thing. And you start listening and you realize, like how much shit is panned, like how many things are layered. Like, you know, it's just really an album where it's not just like a guitar, like one or two guitars, a bass, drums, and like one or two vocals. It's like, there's really layered shit. Like even the guitars, like some guitars are right in your face. Some are really pulled back. Like they're just really all over the place. And it's once again, you know, really just what a good producer, you know, fucking Jerry Finn is. You know, those are fucking things you do in the producer's chair. You know, definitely like things that were probably his idea for it that like, you know, add to the song. You know, just another really well produced one. That bridge is the best part. And I think I love the chugging, and it's like it's very Blink-like. But this song, like, what is your opinion? I know you love, but like, I think this is a very Blink-like song. But what I think is interesting about it is two things. I feel I'm gonna go back to this thing, or I'm gonna ask you if you feel like it can fit on a fucking record. Tell me if I'm nuts. If you don't agree with it, say you're fucking nuts. I think this could be a Take Off Your Pants and Jacket B-side. This is maybe the one song on here where I think this could be a B-side to those sessions. Could you see that at all or no?
I'll say you are not fucking nuts, because you are totally accurate. Like definitely a Toy Patch B-side of sorts, or it could have been like one of those like 6 hidden tracks, quote unquote, that they released separately.
Yes, that's what I was kind of thinking of them in, like, you know, like if there was like a fucking fourth set. Like I don't know what the dirty song would be, but this would kind of be the serious one.
Yeah.
The other funny thing about it is two things I wrote: that it could be a Take Off Your Pants and Jacket B-side, But there's also something about this song, and I think it's not even the song itself. It might be the way that, like, it's kind of the rhythm section, actually, because I think it's the way that Travis plays in the choruses where he plays his ride cymbal a lot, and it's the bass. But I almost feel like there's elements of Neighborhoods on here. Maybe that part's fucking crazy, but there's also parts on this song. I think it sounds more, I don't think it sounds like a song on Neighborhoods. I think it has elements of songs that I hear on Neighborhoods, but I think this song could fit on Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Like, I hear both sides of them, though, in this. Like, I don't know if you hear Neighborhoods at all. Maybe that one I'm fucking nuts on. But the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, I think it could have been on that record, like, fucking period.
Yeah, I never really thought of the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket thing until just now. But I can't picture it in Neighborhoods era. That doesn't mean it wouldn't belong.
I don't think it would fit. I just hear elements.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Or elements. Like, even, like, I guess, trying to think of elements right now, like, nothing's coming to my head immediately. But that might also just be because, like, I've loved this song for, like, what it is. That even the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket thing, I didn't really think about until just now. So, like, I've only exclusively thought of it as just a straight-up Boxcar Racer song.
Yeah.
So, like, trying to add more elements in my head right now is, like, messing with me. But,
I'm
like,
fucking with you,
point,
dude.
Like, I at this point, I can't hear elements of Neighborhoods, but that doesn't mean they're not there.
I'm throwing too much at you at once. But, like, dude, until really, like, today, I don't think I thought much of the Blink thing. But, like, to bring it even further, I was listening to it, and I could hear in my head Mark harmonizing at the end with Tom, at the very end like that. And, like, at the very end of the song, I could fucking hear Mark on that harmonizing with him 100%.
Yeah, I definitely could see that for sure, because I didn't write it in this part of the note, but I did write that besides Elevator, that there could have been another song that Mark could have been featured on more prominently, and this is probably it.
Yes, I think so. You know, and actually, I just want to jump back for 1 second while we're on the subject of Mark on this record. But please don't cut off our connection, Mark. Please, Mark, this is a positive. This is adding you to the album. Watch, it's not going to get cut anymore. The phone is not going to get cut while we now verbally jerk off Mark. But it's not even verbally jerking him off, but, like, I'm just thinking with Cat Like Thief, I would kill to hear that song recorded with Mark doing the vocals instead of Tim. And not doing it just like Tim. Wouldn't it be cool? Because once again, it goes back to he couldn't just do what Tim did.
Oh, yeah.
He'd have to do his own fucking thing. But imagine that song.
I'm picturing like very low monotone Mark.
Yes.
Like, especially on the self-titled Untitled record, he does a lot of those.
That
like,
melancholy kind of mono, kind of like very bassy, low. Like, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I can totally picture him doing that on Cat Like Thief. That would sound so sick.
I wrote on here I would kill for that. So yeah, I mean, if anyone, Mark, if you're listening to this, I will murder someone. I don't know if it'll be a drifter, if it'll be like a specific person. I don't know who I have to murder, but let me know. And if we can get that done, you know, fucking we'll go in there. What if he goes in and he just does a Tim Armstrong impression though? Like he doesn't do it serious. It's just Mark Hoppus.
You know what? I would accept that. I would laugh.
Or actually, they think he's doing a Tim Armstrong impression, and actually turns out Mark Hoppus is having a stroke in the vocal booth. He wasn't doing a Tim Armstrong. He wasn't actually doing a Tim Armstrong impression.
Oh no!
He's actually. Let's do some. Oh my God, he needs help. But yeah, I just wanted to get.
Oh boy! I
forgot to bring that up when we were talking about Cat Like Thief. So I'm happy you're hearing it too, because at least it's justified bringing it back up. But like I said too at the beginning of this, asking you like if you listen to this album and like pinpoint parts where you're like, this sounds like Ava, this sounds like Blink. It's hard not to listen to this album and not interject Mark at times. You sometimes just have to. What song was it? Oh, you know what? I think it's All Systems Go is another one, which I didn't say it during the thing, but I had written down. The chorus is somebody's harmonizing with Tom, and it literally sounds like Mark. Like, I know it's not Mark, but it sounds like Mark harmonizing with him. Like, and you know what, though? Even
Okay, I think I know what part you're talking about in the chorus too.
Yeah,
Like, like when he says, like the "can't get fucked this time."
yes,
Like,
yeah, dude, it sounds
yeah.
like fucking Mark's under there with him.
I can picture that a little bit. Yeah.
And like, yeah, like, so I was going to say I do it with Ava. I don't really, but you know what always sounded like it to me? Do you hear Mark and Do It For Me now? I swear at the end that Hold On to Me, whoever's singing that sounds just like fucking Mark. And obviously it's not. They fucking hate each other. But I think that sounds like Mark in that song as well.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever made that comparison on that song.
I've thought it since the beginning, which actually, funny enough, that was a song, not the first, that wasn't my first Ava song, but that was the first song that I didn't hate The Adventure, but I just thought it was okay. I didn't go grab We Don't Need to Whisper though until I heard fucking Do It For Me Now. That was the one that actually really got me to be like, oh, okay, like I'll check out Tom's new shit. That one kind of finally got me to do that. But yeah, anyways, getting back, I mean, anything else for And I mean, the fucking great song.
No, I wouldn't change like a single thing about this song, and I can talk about this song for a while, but I've already kind of got out everything that I've wanted to get out.
All right, well, that concludes side A of the Boxcar Racer record. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode of the Power Chord Hour podcast, and shout out to my buddy Kyle Steven for always coming on and doing these. I have such a blast with him. And this was very fun to do, and we'll have side B for you. I mean, this is just like, you know, any time that we've talked before. We get into it, and we go a little long, so we are going to cut this one in half, and I decided, yeah, we'll cut right here, because in my opinion, this is kind of the end of side A, and, you know, I don't even know, to be honest, like, if this is technically the end of it, but in my opinion, this is a transition. I think Letters to God is really the beginning of side B. So next week we'll be putting that out, and once again with my buddy Kyle Stevens, so that'll be up here. But until then, give us a follow online at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on YouTube. Shout out to you if you're listening to it there right now. But you can find our page there, all our past podcasts and interviews and a bunch of different content on our YouTube page. Check us out on Spotify. We have a music playlist up there from the radio show and Power Chord Crash Course playlist, bunch of others, and as well as you can listen to the podcast there. And yeah, and hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. I have more Power Chord Hour stickers to give out, so hit me up with your address. I'll send you one out. And subscribe to the show. And if you go rate and review us on iTunes, send me a screenshot of that review, and I will send you a Power Chord Hour t-shirt absolutely free. So yeah, until next week for the Power Chord Hour, I'm Anthony Merchant. Thanks for listening. Oh, and happy birthday, Tom DeLonge.